All righty. Look who's back.
How we doing?
Back again.
How we feeling?
Look
How we
who's
looking?
back. Your boy Badake like cake is back from holiday. It's good to have him here. Let us know who we're hanging out with, who's here, who's in the chat. How you darn, how you darn, how you darn. It is Christmas time, full swing. And
swing.
Badake, where the hell have you been? I cannot tell you how many people have commented on a live stream or a video and have said, "Where's Badake at? Where's Badake at?" And it got to the point where I kept saying he was on holiday with his family. And then eventually, I just started lying to people. I literally said to one person, he got a job at the White House in Secret Service, so
funny.
he couldn't pass it up. Like I literally started lying to people because I was like, at this point, like, what am I supposed to do? So tell people where you've been.
Nah, I've been in New York. I went to New York for 3 weeks. Went to go see family. We went to chill. We went sightseeing. My wife, that was in New York. Sorry, my audio is probably a bit high.
Y'all let us know if anyone's too high or too low.
Yeah, let me know if I'm too high or low. I'm still trying to get used to everything. But yeah, went to New York, did all the sightseeing with everything. I just spent time with family. I ate. That's what I did. Let me tell you that I ate mad food. I saw a lot of people. I went to Giants Commanders game where they tied. I don't know if y'all remember that game.
Dude, that was crazy.
He
was sending me literally videos. You were so close, man.
I was so close. I was like behind the goalpost in the second row, and I was just yelling. I literally lost my voice in the first 15 minutes of that game, like genuinely. And I was like trying to scream. I was yelling, talking shit. Every time Joey Slide kicked the field goal, I was like, "You shit, Joey! You shit, Joey!" I just remember like yelling to Joey that he shit, but he made everyone. And then we tied. But yeah, I've been away. But shout out to all you guys that's been holding it down. Zach's been killing it, holding down both channels. Now Dynasty has been happening. And it's a learning curve for me, you know how like every single live stream you kind of learn something new or you have new different perspectives.
Like during the week you'll figure something out.
Exactly, during the week.
Hey, thank you for the sub, John. Sorry.
I'm 3 weeks behind, so I'm going to be catching up. I'm going to be scouting. I know the majority of the people. I don't know all of it, but I'm learning just like you guys. So just keep that in mind but when we come back from break, I should be all caught up and feeling confident about all these young players.
Did you get your hair did?
Well, first of all, I have COVID. I don't know if you guys know that, so I do have COVID.
That's the gift from New York.
Yeah. Luckily,
Thanks for coming.
Luckily, it was the last
I'm walking here. Here's COVID.
Yeah, legit. But like the day we got here, we got back, or 2 days we got back, I was just like, we were so bored because we were stuck in the room, and Ellen was like, "Let me just braid your hair." So she did it, and I'm keeping it.
Looks good.
Thanks.
Looks good. Well, it's good to have you back. Welcome back, brother. I'm glad that you had a good time and got to see family. I know it'd been a while for you, so it's good to have you back. And obviously, no pressure to. Like you said, he's catching up. That's normal. So
I'm catching up.
When you miss 3 weeks and all I've been doing is scouting for the past 3 weeks, that's just normal. That's not abnormal at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have you guys back. Hey, do us a huge favor. The last time we were on this stream, guys, you guys crushed it. Like genuinely, I was shocked. I was telling my wife about it after the stream. I was like, we've never had a stream that had that many likes. It was incredible. I think you guys had 180 likes while I was live. Not even like a week after. I think we hit 300 likes on that video now a week past it. So huge love for the likes, for the supports, for the subscribes, everything. It's been awesome. You guys know, if you like Dynasty channel or like Dynasty content, this is the channel to be subscribed to. Do us a huge favor just as we're here and drop a like. You like that. If you like the content, if you want to support the stream, the most easy way for you to support what we do. What are we doing today? We are doing a 2023 rookie draft, and it's going to be a good one. We have done these, 4 weeks in a row now? I can't remember, but they've been awesome. I've really enjoyed personally doing them. It gets me excited for the draft. I said this pretty much every week, but it is by far my favorite season. My favorite time of the year is drafts. I like the NFL season. I like watching football. I enjoy it. I love winning in fantasy, but for whatever reason, I am absolutely obsessed with draft time. It's my Christmas. It's the best time of the year. And I know there's a lot of people out there like that as well. So we're going to be doing a Dynasty rookie draft for the 2023 class. If you want to follow along with landing spots, I will put that in the chat. I sent you that, Badake, as well. We're using Tankathon's weekly mock draft this week. So we'll kind of we'll keep up. Just once I send the link out, or once you can send the link out, probably now.
I'll send the link out now.
We will tell people what the landing spots are. But I'll actually just quickly put the link here in case anybody wants to see the landing spots on Discord. But before we get to that, how do people join us, Badake? How do people join us for today's draft?
It's been a minute. Super simple. All you have to do is go to the link in the description. Join our Discord. Go to our Discord there and go to Dynasty Mock Draft tab. And that's exactly where we'll be posting the link. You see a bunch of people. That's kind of where Zach posted the link earlier for this mock draft or this rookie live stream. So definitely go there. He also just posted the NFL mock tankathon link as well there. So that's where we're gonna be joining. So join our Discord. We have how many people we have in the Discord now?
We have over 1,000. I think 1,019 right now, which is incredible.
That's crazy. So yeah,
cool to see.
Obviously over 1,000 people. It is first come, first serve, but it's okay because we're gonna be doing a lot, plenty of these.
We'll be going hard when we come back from break.
Yeah. So I'll send the link out now for the sleeper link. How about that?
Okay. Wait, just before you do that, I always ask people what spot they want me to kind of take on.
Sure.
So you guys comment down below. What spot do you want me to take? Because I know that you guys have put me in some really difficult positions where there's like a drop off of tier talent. So comment down below. Let me know what spot you want me to take, and I'll be happy to take it. One would be so easy, Dylan. Dylan says, process of building your team is the most fun. That's true. What's up, Gungi? What's up, Lakers, Commanders? Feel better, Lord Badake. Steven says, Badake, you missed one thing. No one likes Stroud. Yeah, a lot of people don't like Stroud anymore. That's true.
That's one thing I've seen, to be honest.
Yeah.
Caleb
Who's excited for football at
on
Christmas? I am. Sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I said Caleb Williams won Heisman as well, which is pretty cool.
Yep, Caleb won the Heisman. All right, we got 103, 108, 109, 108, 107, okay, so a lot of like that late first. Okay, 108. I'm gonna go at 108 then. I heard 108 a lot. So we'll say this one last time. To join, you need to be in our Discord, okay? So if you would like to join, our Discord is where you need to join. I have pasted that in the chat. It's also in the description. And we send the link out There's a text channel that says Dynasty Mock Drafts. That's the channel that you would need to join. And then we send the sleeper link out. Obviously, keep in mind, there's only 10 spots here, and there's over 1,000 of you in the Discord. So you do the math. Don't verbally abuse us if you don't get in. It's going to be okay. We'll have plenty of mock drafts to come in the future. Okay, go ahead and send that out.
Yeah, I'll send the link out here now. Once again, join our Discord and link in the description. All you have to do is go to Dynasty Mock Draft tab, and that's exactly where I'm going to be posting the link. 3, 2, 1. There you go.
All right, so that's going to fill up pretty quickly. And while we are waiting for people to join, why don't we look at these landing spots, okay? Because we are drafting with landing spots. So why don't I go ahead and just mute us so people can see. Man, it's so confusing now because there's like a whole different camera group I'm looking at. Okay, here we go. Okay, so these are the landing spots we have. Bryce Young at 1. I think that feels like a lock at this point, but we'll see. Yeah. CJ Stroud goes to the Hawks, so that's definitely a good landing spot. Will Levis goes to the Colts. Quentin Johnston is a Panther. Okay, so it is a little bit different. So Jordan Addison is a Packer, and then we see Jackson Smith is a Patriot. That's new, which is cool. Cool to see. Don't love the landing spot, but love the talent. I don't know if you watched. You probably didn't have time to watch my top 10 Badake, but I am really sold on Jackson Smith in Jigba. Michael Mayer goes in the first round still, which is cool to see. Anthony Richardson gets first round draft capital to the Bucks. That's a great landing spot. Bijan is a Raven. I like that spot. Jalen Hyatt goes in the first round. Really?
To the Chiefs.
I don't get it. I don't get the hype on Jalen. Jameer Gibbs goes to the Bills. We see Darnell Washington to the Saints. That's a pretty common one. Rashee Rice to the Jags. Downs is a Brown. Hendon Hooker is a Raider. Dalton Kincaid is a Washington Commander. Zach Evans is a Dolphin. I love that. Zay Flowers is a Giant. I do like Zay Flowers. That's a cool landing spot. Cedric Tillman to the Bears. Luke Musgrave. We don't know too much about him, I would say. Marvin Mims in the 3rd to the Lions. Zach Charbonnet to the Bucks. That would just destroy everyone's Rashad White stocks.
For sure.
Tanner McKee goes to the Giants in the 3rd. I know you like Tanner a little bit.
Yeah, might as well keep Danny Dimes. Why draft him?
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so we're gonna get to the draft, but just before we do that, I have a huge announcement to make to you guys. Just wanted to show you a new family member. Just got him 2 days ago. He is 10 weeks old today.
Wow.
We haven't decided on a name just yet.
I thought you were gonna say you were pregnant. Wow. Yeah. Congratulations.
My wife is pregnant now. But we're welcoming him to the family. Christmas pup. We have a couple names that we like. I don't know the name just yet because we have to get it approved by some other family members. But I like the name Lou. I like the name Bean. R.I.P. Kobe. What's the other ones?
R.I.P. Kobe.
Lou, Bean. Tony. Just because I think it would be funny. Also, Chad Powers is up for contention. So maybe we'll put it in the Discord and see what people like. But Chad Powers, FBI. Anyway, welcome to the family. I wanted to say a little hi. Maybe we'll have a play date with Blazy.
Oh gosh, you'll go crazy.
Yeah.
Well, luckily Blaze is good with small dogs now because my brother-in-law has two dachshunds, so she's pretty tame when they come over.
Yeah. Yep. So he's a miniature dachshund. Call him Bichon. Imagine we called him Bichon.
Maybe you should leave it up to the crew.
Well, yeah, I don't think my other people in my family would be cool with that. I said to my wife, I was like, what we should do, we should have like 6 names that we like all in a circle, and they all have different treats. Put him in the middle, and see where he goes. Make a video out of it, and then that's the name that we call him. So we'll see. But anyway, new family member. It's a lot of work, but it is exciting. You forget how much work it is, really.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for sure. But I mean, that's the love. I mean, once you get out of like in my opinion, the first month, you're chilling. You're so used to it, you know.
Yeah.
At least that's how it was for Blaze and I.
Yeah.
So.
Name him Achilles. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get this started. 2 minutes on the clock. What's going to happen is you're going to make a pick, and you're going to draft kickers. You're going to tell me in the chat who it is, and then I will enter that rookie for you, and we will have conversations about it, and then we'll continue. You know, there'll be a lot of start, pause. That's just how this is going to go. It's an age of information. People are going to be learning new things. Again, rookie, mock draft, and non-tight end premium. It is super flex. So let's go ahead and get this bad boy started, and let's see how we go. G Money is up first. I have a feeling who's going to go one-on-one, but let's go ahead and pause this and confirm from G Money who his 101 is, and he confirms it is Bijan Mustardson, as I saw someone put in the Discord. But there goes Bijan. He's drafted at the 101. Makes a lot of sense. I've talked about it before. You've talked about it before. But to me, at this point, I think he is the clear 101. I really do think he is a clear 101. He is the best running back prospect I have scouted at this point. Now, we didn't scout the Saquon class. We weren't scouting at that time. But since Saquon, I do believe he's the best running back prospect. I think there's a legit chance he gets drafted in the top 15, which is so rare for wide receivers in the first round. So I think he's a can't-miss prospect. And no, I'm not worried about his speed. Not only is he an incredible running back and is incredible after contact, he's also a very good route runner. This dude is running legit routes out of the backfield. He's going to be a absolute monster in the NFL no matter where he lands. Do you have any thoughts on him?
No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I'm really interested to see where I see that as well. I am going to be... I actually can't... You're right. I actually can't wait for the draft and all these landing spots and where they could potentially go, because it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it is going to be crazy. I genuinely think that this draft is going to be one of those that changes the landscape of Dynasty for a while. Okay, so this is Anthony Richardson at the 102. We saw this last week. Oddly enough, this is the same 1-2 last week.
What's the news on him? I mean, obviously,
with Richardson, he has declared for the NFL draft. I think the overall consensus with people in Dynasty is that he probably has the highest ceiling of any quarterback in this year's draft. I think we could all probably agree when you watch the film, when you see the size, when you see the athleticism, the acceleration in the open field, that big body, the rocket for an arm that still needs to improve as far as accuracy goes. When you see all the raw materials, he does have, I think, the highest upside in this class. Now, similar to Will Levis, they have very low floors. very, very wide range of outcomes here, as far as like ceiling and floor. But at least for his sake, he was drafted to, if I'm not mistaken, he was drafted to the Bucks here. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a good spot to land for a young quarterback. Have Mike Evans there to grow with, young part of your career. Same with Chris Godwin. Good coaching staff.
No, it's crazy.
Landing spot.
It's interesting. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to declare to the draft personally. I know, like, that was one thing we were talking about because he kind of had like the up and down.
Yes, he did.
The up and down in the season.
Yeah.
How did he end up finishing? I'm gonna check it out.
He had a decent finish. Definitely put a couple good games together, but you know, it's funny because I'm anti Will Levis, but I can't be pro Anthony Richardson and not be pro Will Levis if you look at them. I just think when you look at the raw skill sets, I think that Richardson is like, he's just everything that you want. And I think Levis still has a couple things that are missing for me.
I guess I'm also surprised that like people are still going with Richardson over the somewhat of the like what's the word I'm trying to say, like a legit with at least the way we feel with CJ and Bryce right now.
Right.
So you're saying this happened before already in the last
Yes, this
month.
happened last week. I think when people look at like, okay, what's the best outcome, right? Because I know there's gonna be people who comment when the stream is over, maybe during the stream, they're gonna say Anthony Richardson at the 102. That's where I stopped watching the stream. You know, it's like, okay, calm down, bro, calm down. We're all kind of doing this collectively, but I think just not to say that I am agreeing with him being at the 102, but to make the case, Bryce Young. There are some concerns with his size. In fact, I read this tweet the other day, which I thought would be interesting to bring to the stream. Check this out, okay? Of the 301 quarterbacks drafted over the last 25 years, 301 quarterbacks over the last 25 years, only 2 were under 5'11 and under 200 pounds, which Bryce Young is. Neither were drafted within the first 100 picks. So, again, Bryce Young he's always been at this size. He's always been successful, but he certainly isn't like the prototypical big body guy that you want to build around. He's been successful. We believe he can be successful, a la Kyler Murray in the NFL, like that kind of build. But there are some legit question marks, and he's not really had a rushing upside until this year. So when then you look at CJ Stroud, what's the best case scenario for CJ Stroud, right? Is he going to be his best case scenario, Justin Herbert? That would be best, but like worst case scenario, Dwayne Haskins. And he doesn't offer you much as rushing upside either. So then you look at Levis and Richardson, and you see this huge floor with Richardson as far as what he can do on the ground. Like we see what Justin Fields is doing in the NFL right now. And as crazy as it is to say, Anthony Richardson has that same type of game on the ground as Justin Fields. You can put him into an offense today, and he can be someone who can get you 100 yards a game on the ground. I personally don't think we should dog on Justin Fields' game as a passer, because I think people haven't even realized how good he is as a passer just yet. But Richardson can take those strides as he grows and still get you 20 points per game on the ground because of what he does. But I definitely think the consensus right now is Bryce over Richardson. I just think it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting that it's also reflecting, like it's reflecting on here as well. Like it's not, sorry, you know, like people are still taking Richardson over Bryce.
Sure.
But I mean, I see the concerns. Like I saw that tweet the other day too. I think and when I read that too, I think it said he was like 5'10", 5'10",
190.
Pounds. That's crazy. 5'10", 190 pounds, and we're thinking that one of these teams, whether the Texans, the Seahawks, well, those are the really teams I can see, unless he falls to like the Colts.
Yeah.
I mean,
in this mock, where did he get mocked to?
He got mocked to
the Bucks.
Texans, or Anthony Richardson. Sorry, I mean
to the Bucks, right?
Bryce.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Bryce. Yeah, Bryce, he went 101.
I think right now the consensus is that Bryce will be the 101, but who knows? But I will say, and something that I've said for the past few streams, which I think Badake would agree with, of all the positions that we scout, tight end, running back, wide receiver, quarterback, the most impossible, hardest thing to do is to scout a quarterback. It is so difficult, and to hit right on a quarterback. I trust more in NFL draft capital and what scouts think of these quarterbacks than I trust myself. So there will be a part of me where draft capital will be super important. Landing spot will be super important. And, if Anthony Richardson goes top 10 to the Lions, it's like, well, that's a great landing spot. I like the coaching spot around him. I like the young offensive line, the weapons. There's reasons to consider him here.
But is the conversation that, though, right now, like, once again, been away. So, like, have ESPN people been talking about Anthony Richardson is still a first-round pick?
Yes.
They're still saying that, okay.
It's like the same reasons that Will Levis is still considered a first-round pick because of the mold that you get, the untapped upside that you can mold into a superstar quarterback. Not because of what's been proven in college necessarily, but the raw materials that you get to work with. If there's a coaching staff out there that says, I know for sure that I can teach this player the weaknesses that he has and make him into a superstar, then they will definitely take him in the first round.
Well,
as of right now,
the whole thing,
as of right now, Will, Anthony, Bryce, and CJ are all considered locks for the first round, but that could change. But that's where we currently sit.
Right. Okay.
And to be fair, in this exercise, we are mainly drafting off of these landing spots. And in this landing spot, he does get drafted first round. So, again, is he the 102? I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying I understand why some people consider it with truly what is the upside. But Samuel makes a good point. If Richardson goes top 4, I'll be happy because then Gibbs, you get him at 6 or 5. Like, if you don't 100%. Like these quarterbacks, then it pushes the other guaranteed talents down the board. So it's an interesting conversation for sure. Yeah. All right, Richardson goes at the 2. Let's see what happens at the 3.
What the? Let's see.
A Rich has a nice fantasy floor. A Rich, yeah. I'm worried about the chances Richardson isn't a starter long term, for sure. Definitely going to be the smallest quarterback ever taken in the first. Yeah, for sure. Probably in the first 3. Dylan says, I see Johnson at 8 to the Panthers. Should I assume Sam Darnold is there? I think you probably should. Or maybe they went Jimmy G. I don't know. But
there's going to be a lot of moving quarterbacks, especially with all the
it'd be tough.
Especially with, like, having a top 10 pick right now. I mean, what if they go for a quarterback?
Yeah.
It'll be crazy, in my opinion.
I think you're going to see the entire NFL change this offseason. It'll be like an NBA 100%. Offseason, in my opinion, especially running back.
It's going to be wild.
Okay, so this is Jahmyr Gibbs off the board here. I've made a case for him ahead of the quarterbacks this year, and I don't think it's crazy. Something that I've been wanting to share with you guys, which from a good, not friend, but someone that I've met pretty recently. His name is Peter, and he also looks at Dynasty content. He looked at the hit rate for running backs in the first round. And running backs have the highest hit rate in the first round of any position. And I think it makes sense because you can easily look at a running back and see what they can offer to an NFL team and see how they could beat out the talent ahead of them and instantly be a asset that grows in value year one. We see it year after year. Now, granted, there's injuries to Breece Hall, but Breece Hall was the RB1 before he got injured. Then Ken Walker was the RB1. Like, you see these rookie running backs who have second-round draft capital or first-round draft capital, their value, it stays. And even Breece Hall, he just had a serious injury, and he's still considered a top 3 running back in Dynasty football. So I think the hit rate is easier. There's this thing that you can't really... Peter Howard, by the way, he's great at what he does. There's this thing with quarterbacks that you can't really quantify. Does he have it up here? Does he have the mental? Is it in his head? Can he process quickly? You can scout as much as you want, but that is a question that we will only find out once they're in a system and once they're starting, So I understand there is less risk, I think, with Jahmyr Gibbs than the quarterbacks in this class. I'm not saying it's the right pick, but I think it's worth a conversation at least.
No, for sure. No, we like this landing spot. I mean, I like the landing spot here with the Bills.
Yeah, I like it too.
So we'll kind of see what happens with these guys moving forward. But that's interesting. Interesting to know.
Just before you go, Albie had a question. Says, where do you rank Malik Willis and Pickett amongst the 23 quarterback class? For me, I would put them behind the big four of this class.
Yes.
I would put the big four, so Bryce, CJ, Anthony, and Will. I would put all those guys ahead of Pickett and Malik, personally. But that's just me. And Grant says, I think Richardson will go higher once the combine comes. He definitely could. Yeah, he definitely could. All right, what are you thinking here at the 104, Badake? It's been a while.
It's been a while. I'm a bit surprised. Look, right now, I know a lot of talks. CJ is not the favorite. I mean, yeah, CJ is not the favorite, but at the moment, he's still my favorite with all the information that I had before leaving. Sure. I'm still going to continue to go with CJ here. Okay. And I like the landing spot. He goes to the
landing spot is nice.
Yeah, he goes to the Seahawks. Let me make the pick here. Actually, I'll just pick it.
You're good.
He goes to the Seahawks. He has DK, Tyler Lockett probably on the come down. They probably draft another guy. They have a good running back in Kenneth Walker. So I'm liking that the pieces that he's gonna have there. He's gonna have DK to kind of grow with as well, because DK has got that contract extension, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna continue to go from there. So I still like CJ and everything that's happening, obviously before my scouting. But hey, anything can change.
Sure. Yeah.
And Gino's playing lights out right now.
I know.
Good, so it'll be interesting if he even stays.
Sure.
But if he does go to this team, obviously I think surely he's the automatic starter over Gino.
Yeah. You don't spend a top 3 pick on a quarterback and not start him.
For real.
So make that pick for us, and we'll just talk about CJ here.
What the?
I really don't know where I stand with the quarterbacks yet. I don't know. I think at this point I do have Bryce as my quarterback one. And I think it's because of the modern day NFL. You want that guy who can kind of get out of the pocket, improvise, and make the throw on the run. And not to say that CJ isn't that guy, but he is a much better pocket quarterback. And I will say that CJ, they both have areas that they're better than the other. CJ is a better processor of the game in real time, I would say. One knock that Ohio State quarterbacks get a lot is they don't have the mental makeup, because the scheme that they're in, the talent around them, it's so hard for them to fail. But CJ, I think, is the best processor in real time. He can look at 3 to 4 to 5 reads on a single play and find the best option within the offense. Now, is he someone that's going to give you really anything on the ground, like rushing upside? No, he's not. But Geno Smith, doesn't really... I wouldn't say that CJ Stroud is any less of a rusher than Geno Smith. So it's a great landing spot, you're right. To have DK to build your career around. Ken Walker's back there. He's been doing great. You drafted Charles Cross last year. You got your future left tackle already. The offensive line is being built around. Great system. Pete's there.
I think it's the head coaching staff. I think when I look at the makeup of the Seattle Seahawks over the Texans, just as Bryce and CJ in these landing spots specifically, sure. I like the makeup of the Seahawks already.
Sure.
And
identity,
what they can
organization.
Bring. Exactly, and how they can upbring it, because we've seen that technically in the past with Russ, and we've seen how they had this amazing defense and some people, and Russ made everyone fantasy relevant. So
think about this: the Seahawks had Russell Wilson was a superstar in Seattle, and he was great, and he left. You have to say some of his decline has to be contributed to not being in Seattle anymore, not being in that system, not running the system that Pete has, right? So he leaves Seattle, he looks like a bum. He looks like a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. That's just the truth. I'm not saying he is, but that's what he looks like right now. Geno Smith has been in the NFL a decade and has been a backup, failed project. He goes to Seattle and is the starter this year, and he looks like a potential MVP candidate. So why can't this team and this system work for CJ Stroud, who has a similar game, I would say, to Geno Smith. So I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy. Now, I still have Bryce as my quarterback one, but I can see where you're coming from. And I will say, again, Seahawk fans who are out there who are going to say, we're going to sign Geno to a long-term contract. Okay, I've heard the reports. I get it. But, again, this exercise is based off of these landing spots. We're pretending like this is all real. So, in this scenario, in this exercise, C.J. Stroud was the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft, and it was the Seahawks who drafted him. So
how old is Geno right now?
He's 32, 33 almost.
Gosh. I mean, do you sign Geno to a 2-year contract extension and have the opportunity to give up Bryce or CJ or Will or Richardson and say, oh, you know, Geno did okay for the 1 year? Like, sure.
You're gonna make a lot of Seahawk fans mad.
I'm just saying, like, surely you kind of say, okay, Geno, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. We actually want you to compete. You know, like,
yeah.
There was nothing that kind of led to,
sure,
like, them competing. And I think if you can get Geno to compete against CJ, any of these top 4, I think it would be good for this team, in my opinion.
Yeah, what's the harm in adding? So if you're a Seattle fan and you're saying Geno Smith and C.J. Stroud are going to give me the same play, why wouldn't you prefer to add the player who is in his early 20s and build around him then? You know, if Geno's giving you MVP type play, then, you know, I'm just making a case for it. I'm not saying it's the right pick. I'm not saying they won't go defense, but...
And if it doesn't work, you got 2 more first-round picks for the next year.
Yeah.
Like the next 2 years, right? I think they got 3 first rounds for us or something like that.
Yeah. So who knows what will happen? I know Seahawk fans are not going to be happy that, you know, that Geno is losing his job in this scenario, but that's just the scenario. We're playing with the cards that we were dealt here.
Get some pick compensation for Geno somehow.
Well, he's a free agent, so he can do whatever he wants.
Oh, actually, yeah.
If I got Bryce Young at the 105, I'd be stoked. G Money says, yeah, I would have to agree there. Carry on, Chad. Carry on. Where do y'all think Tank Bigsby will go? I'm an Auburn fan. I would like to see him. Love to see an actual fantasy relevant Auburn player in the NFL. That's true. Cam Newton was very fantasy relevant. I'm not big on Tank Bigsby, guys.
Where do you get taken here?
I'm not big on him. I don't think he would have been drafted in this mock draft, but I am kind of really indifferent. I don't see a lot of explosiveness. I don't see a lot of open field elusiveness or lateral quickness. I see kind of like what I thought about Zamir White last year. Really, I keep going to that comp, but like that's how I kind of view him, a player who is strong, you know, really good base, but I don't think he's going to be like an RB1 for a team, especially with the amount of talent that is going to be changing in this year's draft. So I'm just not high on Bigsby. I know there's a lot of people who have him in the top 5. I don't. I think he's very limited in what he can offer. Yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about him. All right, so this is Jackson Smith in Jigba, and if you guys will allow me, I'll go on a little rant for anyone who hasn't heard my Jackson Smith and Jigba rant. But I am 100% unquestionably in love with Jackson Smith and Jigba. You guys know I spent a couple weeks scouting this class, and I'm a big Jackson Smith guy. What I like about him, broke out at the age of 19, early breakout age. You like to see that. Great route runner, very gifted, especially like off the line of scrimmage with his footwork, very crisp, very twitchy, and he can gain separation like that. Off the line of scrimmage. Yes. Hey, thank you for the sub. Okay, Office Depot. Officially sponsored by Office Depot. Very, very good route runner. And I would say his hands as well are something that is commonly underrated. Posted an elite 84.8% reception percentage in 2021 amongst wide receivers who had at least 55 receptions. Jackson Smith had the #1 contested catch rate at 90%. Okay? For reference, 90% contested catch rate. How about his teammates? Garrett Wilson was at 61.5. Chris Olave was at 62.5. How about the other guys in the class? Drake London, 65.4%. Treylon Burks, 43.8%. This guy has great hands, an elite route runner, and after the catch, he is also elite. In 2021, Jackson put up 8.3 yards after the catch per reception, which was 10th best in the country. Okay? Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, they didn't crack the top 10. The top 50, rather. So, I am a huge, huge fan of Jackson's game. He is someone that I have labeled in this class a can't-miss prospect. He is my wide receiver 1. I would say Bijan Robinson and Jackson Smith, to me, are the only can't-miss prospects in this year's class. As far as, like, I genuinely don't think you will regret. There's not a scenario in which you regret picking them at their ADP. Easily, if you can run crisp routes, you have great footwork, and you're great after the catch, you will succeed in the NFL. So I'm a big, big fan of his. And no, he is not the fastest player, but you don't need to be the fastest player in the NFL to succeed. My comps to him, Keenan Allen, Larry Fitzgerald, Cooper Kupp. Let me tell you, they're 40 times. Keenan Allen's was 4.7. Larry Fitzgerald was 4.63. Cooper Kupp, 4.62. That is the type of play that Jackson Smith can offer in NFL offense the day he is drafted. And because he's an incredible route runner, he will be able to be relevant from day one in an NFL offense, excuse me. So I'm a big Jackson Smith guy, love his film, and I think he's only getting hate right now because he didn't play this year. And are we really going to dock him because he didn't play in 2022? Like, we didn't dock Jamar Chase when he didn't play for a year. So I'm a big fan of his, and I'm happy with the pick. Again, I think it's a can't miss prospect here.
Is it? I remember. I mean, so he's your number 1. That's awesome. I mean,
he's my number 1.
He was my number 1. I know, like, you're really high on Jordan Addison. I guess we'll talk about that later once we have everything. Once I've done all my scouting, but before my scouting, and still I haven't done it yet. Yeah. Jackson Smith and Jigma was my number 1, and I said it like earlier because he kind of alluded to it. He was saying, I said when he got injured, I was like, I don't think he should play at all. Like, don't play. And he's still gonna have the same exact draft capital as if he would have gone in, if he would have played the season, or maybe even higher, but not higher. But if he would have played, probably had a little bit higher. But you know, like, I think he is the best wide receiver there. An amazing team. He had all that talent around him as well, with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. So I'm loving everything that he's gonna bring. And he is gonna be instant. And he's going to be an instant contributor to whatever team he goes to, no matter what.
Yeah. Again, I think he's a can't-miss prospect. Last year, I think there was quite a few can't-miss prospects, but I would put him as the only can't-miss in this class. It doesn't mean that I don't like the other wide receivers, because I do. I think there's some pretty deep gems here, but he's the only can't-miss for me. Like, can't-miss last year, I would have put, like, Olave in that category, Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks, which I think, we're still yet to see. But in case people are curious, because the common question is, okay, well, like, where do you rank him between, like, Olave, Wilson? That's a question that I see a lot. I have, as a scouting grade right now, he is the highest graded of those 3. Okay? That's not to say that he will be better than them in the NFL, but based off of what they offer as a prospect, he has the highest grade of all 3 of those.
Oh, that's great. That's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And I have some very specific opinions on Addison that we'll go through later, where I found some real flaws in his game.
Oh, really?
When I dug a little bit deeper. So
okay, no, that's interesting.
So,
I remember you loved that. I'm pretty sure you still like him.
I still like Addison, but I think there's some very clear weaknesses that need to be addressed. So
okay, that's interesting. Good to know.
Let's see what Macy does here. But I mean, if you're sitting at the 1-6 and you have Bryce Young there, this is the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, quarterback in a super flex league. Oh my God, you're kidding me.
He went Jordan Addison.
Okay, this is getting ridiculous now. What is happening?
We over here hating on Bryce Young.
I like CJ. Bryce Young. He's my quarterback 1 in the class. What is going on?
People were hating on CJ. Now I feel like everyone's hating on Bryce.
Yeah, how is this happening? Okay, Jordan Addison is at the 106. Should we just talk about him then? Because this is a great segue. we review film based off of the previous year for a class coming into the season. So before the 2022 college season, we were able to review their 2021 film for all these prospects, right? And at that time, I felt pretty good about Jordan Addison, but diving deeper into his film in the last 3 or 4 weeks, there was a couple things in particular that I feel don't make him a can't-miss prospect. So let's talk about those things. Firstly, I'll talk about the good and then the bad. Route runner. I mean, he is up there as a route runner with the Olaves, with the Garrett Wilsons. I would say kind of with the Jacksons. Like he is a very, very good route runner. Good footwork off the line of scrimmage, twitchy movements, has those kind of head fakes in his route running that you want to see to manipulate a defender. Like, oh, my head is going right, but I'm going up the field and you're completely lost. Like, he has that ability in his game, can create separation really easily, good burst off the line, cuts back on a dime on his routes, really fluid as a mover in the open field. Another good thing, production. He has produced consistently. Like, ever since he's been in college, he's been a huge producer, right? Broke out at the young age of 18, has always demanded a huge target share. I mean, his dominator rating is 36.2. I mean, if you're looking for an elite dominator rating, that's right around 35%. So he has shown he can be a number one in college. But I have some concerns, specifically as a yak player, okay? In the open field, like, watching Addison, I just consistently felt like I wanted more. The burst is good, speed is good, but he's not elusive in the open field. He just isn't. Like, if there's a defender ahead of him and the defender gets his hands on him, there's not many times that Addison is breaking that tackle or has like a signature move that allows him to get open in space. He doesn't have like a cutback. He doesn't have a spin move. He doesn't have like a juke or like a hesitation. He doesn't have a calling card that in the open field he can gain more yards with. And that was disappointing for me to see. Like, he was relatively easy to take down. And I think a lot of that has to do, again, with another negative, which is his size. Okay? He is 6 foot, 175 pounds.
So
we are talking about
length, skinny.
So yeah, we're talking about the same concerns we had with Devonta Smith coming out, right? Like, undersized player, can he play on the outside? What will he do against DBs? I think Devonta Smith has put some of that to rest, but on film, specifically, I will say this: if anyone's curious to go watch the Utah versus USC conference championship game. In that game in particular, he faced a lot of press coverage. And we love seeing that kind of film when we're scouting wide receivers, because a lot of it is zone and they just have these free releases off the line of scrimmage, a lot of room to move with. Right. And in that game specifically, he faced a lot of press coverage and he struggled. He struggled to fight off defensive backs off the line of scrimmage, mid parts of his routes. You know, the hand fighting that we see all the time for NFLs in the wide receiver, he struggled in that area. He does not have the strength to dominate a defensive back in that way. And then you take the next step to the NFL. I have some serious concerns on his ability to beat press coverage. I'm not saying that he can't, but I have some serious concerns. And the last thing I'll say is I think his hands are pretty inconsistent. And he's not going to be a contested catcher in the NFL. That's like, we have seen Devonta Smith thrive in that area this year. I don't think we see Jordan Addison thrive as a contested catcher. He had a 22.2% contested catch rate in college football. If you look at wide receivers who had a minimum of 55 targets in 2022 college football, that ranks 206th in college football. Not a very reliable guy through traffic. So I have some real concerns with those three specific areas: yards after the catch, strength and size, ability to fight off defenders, and his hands. So those are some concerns. But again, the route running is truly like the Chris Olave, the Garrett Wilsons of the world as a route runner. He can create separation. But what happens when you're seeing press coverage like a much higher percentage of the time than what you were in the NFL? How will you get off the line of scrimmage? Will you be able to create separation like that? So those were some real concerns that I felt with Jordan Addison, at least. And we've seen Devonta Smith succeed, and you're a big Devonta Smith guy, but let's be honest, right? Is Devonta Smith going to be a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy football or in dynasty football.
Right.
He feels more like a 2. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, because it sounds like everything that you're saying is kind of what happened to Smith. So if everyone's the expectation is Jordan Addison is going to go to a team, be the one, which we thought the same thing with Devonta Smith, and it kind of didn't work out because even though he was the one at Alabama, he kind of had so much talent around him as well. Still,
Sure.
So
less press coverage, more zones, easier ways to
Exactly.
find space.
Exactly. So like if he does go hypothetically to the Packers, you have Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. Does this kind of help him a little bit to where
I think
like,
so. I
he
love
may-
the landing spot.
He may not have the breakout top 10, top 15, but
Sure.
he will be a good middle of the pack, good 20
Sure.
to 25 wide receiver that
Sure.
is just going to do what you need, a good flex option moving forward, maybe in some scenarios. But
Yeah.
I like the landing spot just based off of what we've seen with Devonta Smith and how
Sure.
his process was, and it actually really helped him if he had talent around
Right.
him
Right.
compared to like him just being the number one guy. So no, it's interesting. I think that means we might have the same top 3.
Well,
in
we'll
the
talk
order.
about it once the next guy gets drafted. But
Yeah, because I think I might have the same number. Well, I'm assuming Jordan Addison is not your number 2. He might be your number 3 or.
oh shoot, sorry, can you guys still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure the stream didn't freak out. I was just editing something. Yeah, we'll talk about the top 3. I mean, Badake and I try and really avoid telling each other our thoughts before we scout a position because we don't want any influence at all. Like, if he loves someone and I don't, well, there were reasons on film that he loved him, right? And vice versa. So we try not to like get too much information to each other, which is I think is the right way to do it. But yeah, I'm interested to see what it pans out for you. But yeah, and I would say Devonta Smith, obviously his situation was different. Jalen Hurts was one of the worst passers last year. He really grew in that area, and it was a run-first team. But I think as talented as he is, we're not drafting, I don't think, at the 106 a Chris Olave. We're not drafting a Garrett Wilson. We're drafting potentially a Devonta Smith. That's how I'm viewing it.
Right.
Which is a very, very good wide receiver to have in Dynasty. But he's not, I don't see him being an alpha. I don't see him being a 1. I see him being a 2.
Yeah. I agree with you on that.
So, yeah, there are some concerns there. But anyway, I cannot believe that Bryce Young is still on the board.
Well, this is your opportunity. Talk him up.
I mean, I'm
5'10",
I'm shocked.
190 pounds.
I'm shocked that he's still on the board. Let's see what McGungle does here. But I am in genuine shock to see Bryce Young still on the board. By the way, Bijan Robinson is a Raven in this mock draft. Anthony Richardson is a Buck. Gibbs is a Bill. Stroud is a Seahawk. Jackson is a Patriot. And Addison is a Packer. Just so you guys keep up. Those landing spots are in the description as well if you want to keep along with us.
What the?
But let's see who it is. Are we finally seeing the number 1 overall pick
Talk him up.
get drafted? Okay, I love how McGungle literally puts his size. He says Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama, 6 foot, 194 pounds.
What a little gift. That's funny, yo.
Okay, so Bryce Young finally goes off the board, and he goes off the board at the 106. Honestly, if you're in a Superflex league and Bryce Young falls to you at the 106, you feel like you feel like you just robbed someone. Like, am I okay? Like, what's happened? How have I gotten this gem handed to me here at the 106? Well, he's the number 1 overall pick, drafted to the Houston Texans. We don't know what the coaching staff will be. We don't know who's there yet. It certainly won't be Lovie Smith anymore, I don't think.
Lovie Smith, yeah.
They will move on after a 1-11 season, 1-12 season. Not to say that it's his fault. But Bryce Young goes off the board. Did they get him any help in this mock draft? Did they...
No. They got more... It looks like they went more defensive. They got a tight end, Luke Musgrave.
Okay, so we didn't... what I wanted to see was if they... Because I've seen a mock before where they went wide receiver with their second pick, which I think would make a lot of sense to kind of give him some help there to kind of grow with. But it doesn't look like they did that. They went defensive line with Brian. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So you're starting your career but in Houston. But at least you have someone that you've put up big numbers with already there.
Yeah,
in John Mechie.
Yeah, awesome.
Pretty decent offensive line. Laramie Tunsil's there and the crew. Damian Pierce, I'm sure there'll be another running back there to accompany him. You got Brandon Cooks. Maybe they trade him. But yeah, definitely a more difficult scenario to land in than Seattle. Definitely a more difficult scenario to land in than Tampa Bay. Where did Levis go? Then Indianapolis for sure. I mean, it's a more difficult scenario to land in. I mean, the team isn't only 1-11 because of their quarterback. It's a bad team, so it makes sense. But as far as Bryce Young goes, I would say you look at the modern day NFL. What do we see from the superstar quarterbacks? It typically isn't standing in the pocket and running an offense that way. Maybe Joe Burrow is a dime of, is the needle in the haystack. But you got your Pat Mahomes, your Josh Allens, your Kyler Murrays, these type of quarterbacks who can extend the play when there is pressure. They can roll out to the right. They can roll out to the left, wait for a broken play, and deliver in that way. So, I mean, I definitely think he can be successful the same way that Kyler Murray was successful. But obviously there's some serious concerns about the size, and it makes sense. But you get number 1 overall pick, and you get to draft him here at the 107. That's crazy. That's crazy.
No, it's awesome. I mean, look, we're gonna see what's gonna happen with Bryce, but it's interesting. I think personally, what the Texans are gonna do is kind of do what the Jets did. You got your quarterback last year, and like what the Jets did in this past draft. They got the running back, they got the wide receiver, and they got defensive. They have so many picks in the first and second rounds. I think for 2 picks in the first. I think they also have 2 picks in the second, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Or maybe just 1. Or they can, because they can trade up. They can still trade up from the second round into the end of the first and get a talented defensive player, wide receiver, whatever the case may be. Because like they get Bryce and hypothetically Jackson Smith or Jordan Addison, because they have the 12th spot right now. Yeah. If it were to end right now, Quentin Johnson, they could potentially get there's so much talent still on the board that it will kind of be dumb for them not to go that way, knowing that they need talent.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree. It will be interesting to see. All right, I'm on the board here. I'm on the clock, and I think, as much as I love Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think he is a clear wide receiver 1. I only have one other player in the same tier as him when it comes to this wide receiver class. Okay? There's 2 wide receivers I have as a tier 1 option. One is Jackson Smith. Okay? And the other is Quentin Johnston. I am a big fan of Quentin Johnston. Let me put him in our little draft here. Oh, perfect. That's where we drafted last time.
This is what I was assuming. I think I like the way my mind has it before my scouting is Jackson Smith, Quentin, and Jordan Addison. I think that's how I've always had it. Yeah. Because Quentin kind of struggled in the first half of the first couple games actually, and then he kind of just okay, we're finally seeing him, really take off in however way he did. But I like it. I'm really excited to see what Quentin can do, because he's a big body dude, man. Big body dude, 6'4".
Big body bends. I'm a big fan of his. Again, he's the only other wide receiver in tier 1 for me this year in this class. I'll just go on a little rant about Quentin for 1 second. Okay. Watch a single game of Quentin Johnston's film, and you will see how he can be a superstar in the NFL. It's not going to take long, genuinely. What does he not have as a wide receiver prospect? He is 6'4", 215. Now, with that size, is he slow? No. He's already clocked an official 4.440. Okay? That's been officially clocked. We'll see what happens at the combine. But we've already seen him run a 4.440, which is very impressive for 6'4", 215. Are you kidding me? So we'll find out what happens at the combine. But even game speed, when I watch film, he looks like a fast player for his size. I don't feel like speed is going to be an issue for him at all. So he's got size. He's got speed. He's above average, I would say, as a route runner. Continually growing. Needs to expand the route tree a little bit. Makes contested catches. Makes circus catches. Has the versatility to line up as an X or in the slot. Because we saw this year, he played 86.1% out wide. He played almost 14% in the slot, which is a higher percentage than he's played before. So you saw them trying to kind of put him in different areas on the field. Broke out at the age of 19. As a freshman, led the team in receiving yards. Has a 30+% career dominator rating. And despite his size, he is dangerous in space after the catch. I truly believe he has everything that you need to be an elite wide receiver in the NFL. Now, there are some small things he needs to work on, and specifically, he needs to do a better job of hands catching instead of body catching. We don't want to see that as much, but there's not really anything that holds me back from drafting him here at the 108. By the way, yards to the catch per reception, that was 7.8 for him this year. That is good for 15th best in the nation. 15th best in the nation when you're looking at a list of like 500 players is quite impressive. Minimum 55 targets. Something in particular that I noticed about his film, which you guys might see if you watch him, he has like this signature after the catch move to put him into space. I don't see Addison have this. I definitely see Jackson have this, but he has a signature leverage spin. So if he's running a comeback route, he catches the ball. He does a really good job of filling the defenders wherever they are behind him, and he has this leverage spin. Well, he will spin into space, not into the defender, which puts him into the open field. Pretty reliable on screen plays, good speed, good burst. Put up, like I said, a dominator rating of 13.1%. I love me some Quentin Johnson. If you're looking for a player comp, I think his ceiling, we're looking at a DeAndre Hopkins, a T. Higgins, AJ Green. That's the type of player. Mold those guys together. That's the type of player you could potentially be getting. His floor, I would say, is pretty safe as well. We're looking at a Mike Williams, Martavius Bryant, that type of player. Funny thing is he's going to clock a faster 40 than D-Hop, than T. Higgins, than probably AJ Green. So he's got everything. He's got everything you want. Just needs to improve a little bit as a route runner. But I'm very, very excited about Quentin Johnston. And in this mock, he goes to the Panthers, which I hate. But hopefully if you guys liked...
Gosh, I would hate it too.
Right, but hopefully if you guys liked Garrett Wilson last year and he landed in the Jets, you didn't switch up. You know, hopefully you're like, no, I believe in the talent. It's going to work out. We draft talents and situations hopefully change and talent wins out. So I'll take him here at the 108. Knowing that I missed out on Bryce Young by one pick hurts, but I'll take Quentin here at the 108 and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I like Quentin. I think he was a guy that kind of came. Well, he's been on the radar, but like a guy that I really started to love in the middle of the season, just based off everything I've been watching, been seeing, been reading.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm biased. I would love him to come to the Giants. So what we need is talent, and that is the perfect opportunity for him. Is he going to fall all the way down to the end of the first? I doubt it. But I think wherever he's going to go, he's going to contribute tremendously. And there's so many good teams that he can go to outside of the Panthers.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I mean, the freaking he can literally go anywhere. He can go anywhere, and he will be fantastic.
I think you and me are like, dude. Honestly, go anywhere else. Like, please,
yeah,
anywhere else but Carolina.
I mean,
I think he's going to end up top 15 though. So what are the options here?
Well, options.
Chicago at 2 is too high unless they trade down.
I think the Jags. I don't think the Falcons will get him. The Texans, I think, will get Bryce and Quentin. I think that'll be really
I like
nice.
that.
I don't think the Steelers will get somebody. I don't think the Packers.
But you could see like the Patriots trading up if those wide receivers go earlier. You could see the Titans maybe trading up. The Chargers. I would really love Jackson Smith to the Chargers or Quentin.
I'll trade up.
The Giants.
The thing is, like,
might trade up.
The thing is, like, not that many teams are on the top here. Outside of the needy quarterback teams, also need a wide receiver. Like Lions have Amon-Ra.
Sure,
Jameson.
I get it.
The Colts, Michael Pittman. They got Alec Pierce. Obviously, they can probably get
They could use one for sure.
The Falcons, Kyle Pitts, and Drake
don't.
London. But at the same time, like, why wouldn't they go for another big body? But it just wouldn't make sense. We thought the same thing with the Jets, right? Yeah. Eagles, you don't need nobody. Raiders have Devonta Smith.
The Raiders have Devontae Adams, yeah.
Devontae Adams, sorry. Jags have Calvin Ridley now with all these young people. Maybe he goes to the Jags.
I will say he would we might not like it for fantasy because how many people can you spread the ball around to? But he would complement that receiver core really well. Hey, okay, thank you for the sub. Thanks for the sub, Mohammed. But we might not like it for fantasy, but he would really complement that wide receiver core well. Kirk could stay in the slot. You could have Ridley on the opposite side, outside, and then have him be your X. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I will say that I personally don't have. I only have 3 wide receivers that I have first round grade worthy. That's Addison, Jackson, and Quentin. It's not like last year where there was like 6 wide receivers that I thought could go in the first. So that could put a premium on them, and we could see teams trading up.
Yeah, exactly. Which, like, being where kind of the Giants are, once again, biasly, or maybe even the Ravens, if they wanted to get they can definitely trade up to the 16, 17, 18 area if he does fall that far. But I mean, being top 10, I mean, we were surprised too. I mean, not that we weren't surprised that Drake London was going to go that high, but we weren't expecting, at least in our talent pool when we first started.
He wasn't our one. Yeah,
he wasn't our one, but he still was the one for the NFL.
Sure.
So it's going to be interesting.
But I think the difference there, though, might be that we were on the outside. Like, everyone was like Drake London wide receiver 1 in Dynasty.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean? And we were like, hey, he's wide receiver 5, 4 for us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, don't hate us. Remember how we had to, like, explain all offseason last year?
Yeah,
okay,
everyone
so
was like...
I'm sorry, but we're not as big on Drake London as you, and that's okay. Okay, so... yeah, I mean, this draft is getting crazy. It is getting crazy. Okay, Cape the Goat is up. And shout out to everyone who is hanging out with us and watching the stream. Appreciate you guys. If you can do us a favor and drop a like, that would be very appreciated. It is the most simple, easiest way for you to support what we do, to support our work. So that would mean a lot if you could do so.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
All right, let's see who GOAT. Cape is GOAT. I assume that's Cap, actually. Kaepernick looks like. Kaepernick is GOAT. Zach, not Savage, Evans.
Oh,
all right. I like it. As you guys know, I'm a big Zach Evans guy. And, okay, wow. Oh, I was going to say, he got drafted there last time. But no, 1 spot earlier. I'm a big Zach Evans guy. I like him. When it's Bijan and Gibbs off the board, if you're looking for a running back, for me, that running back is Zach Evans. Big fan of his. And I think what would be really... I'll say this. Scout Zach Evans for Zach Evans. Do not scout him and include Quinshon Judkins in your scouting, because I think that you could miss out on a really big talent. What a lot of people forget about Judkins is that he was the steal of the recruiting class. There's no way he should have been a 3-star recruit. The only reason he was is because people were not aware of the name, and Lane Kiffin went to all of his high school games, watched him, told nobody about him, signed him, and he was an absolute monster. Quinshon Judkins is probably the RB1 in 2025 right now. So don't hurt Zach Evans in your evaluation of him because Judkins was the RB1 that year. Don't hurt Javonte Williams because of Michael Carter, right? We've talked about it before. But I'm a big fan of Zach Evans. We've heard some reports that he actually sat out or asked for less work this year so he could focus on the NFL draft. I can't confirm that, obviously. I can't confirm or deny it. I don't know if he's declared yet, but he definitely will. There's no reason for him to stay with Judkins there, but we'll see. Yeah. Transfer from TCU to Ole Miss this offseason. If you look at his film last year at TCU, there was a stretch where he went over 100 rushing yards in 4 of the first 5 games, including a career-high 190 yards versus Cal in Week 2. But I'm a big fan of his. In short, I would say he can be a game-changing NFL workhorse running back. I think he has a rare combination of skill sets that are hard to find. I I can imagine being a second-round pick in this year's NFL draft, kind of like where Javonte Williams was, Breece Hall, that early second, mid-second round draft capital. And I think if that happens, he'll instantly be placed in the top 12 of my Dynasty rankings for running backs. Good combination of burst, speed, freaky plays, and strength. Gets to his top speed quickly, can stop and start on a dime. Has a lot of moves in his arsenal in the open field to make a defender miss. Is not one of those running backs who you're worried about with size or strength. Has good strength. And on the goal line, he's a very efficient goal line running back as well. So I'm a big fan of his. And I think he can be a workhorse running back in the NFL, no doubt. And he might get drafted late second round, early second round. And we have a lot of those in this year's draft. So I like the pick. I'm a big fan of him here at the 109. Now probably would be my pick if I was next.
In the 109.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I know you're not a big fan of his, but I was just gonna say my piece there.
No, that's fine. I mean, I have once again been away for 3 weeks, so maybe something has changed if I watch the tape in the second half. But before everything that I know about Zach Evans, it's not a guy I actually love. I'm kind of the complete opposite of what Zach's saying. Like, I don't think he can be a workhorse guy. I think the way I see it, when Sean Judkins does play a huge factor in everything that he has done and who he is, Zach Evans, because of how highly he was recruited. But once again, that's a whole different conversation. But I think I don't want to say too much about my part because I don't have as much information as Zach. But
sure.
right now, my thought process is I do like the landing spot. How about that? So the Miami Dolphins, I think that's really, really favorable for him, and I think that would really help him, especially in the second round. But I think he has to land in the right spot. If not, I think he can get lost. I can see him playing a good backup role. I've seen comparisons to like Tony Pollard, and I'm seeing that. That's kind of like the role that I'm seeing have in the NFL. I think he could be a really good backup, and maybe have the more opportunity he gets, the better he probably is. Kind of like what we're seeing with Tony Pollard. Like Tony Pollard's clearly more explosive than Zeke right now because he's older.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of the thought process I see him going. But yeah, don't want to put too much thought since I haven't really scouted the second half of his season too much as of yet. But,
I would say like we have to be really careful looking at high school recruiting, like 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. That's a really dangerous game to play, I would say, just because, I mean, for example, like last year, Chris Olave is a 3-star high school recruit. Recruits don't always hit. You don't always hit out of high school. That's who they were out of high school. But these dudes changed so much in the next 3 to 4 years. And I get it because you want that pedigree. You want that pedigree of like 4-star, 5-star recruit. But, I mean, you'll see hundreds of examples of players being super successful and they weren't scouted well out of college. I mean, Kenneth Walker was a 3-star recruit, So I think it's dangerous to look at that and rule someone out. But I get the concerns. We'll have to wait and see what happens,
Yeah, 100%. I think landing spot for Zach Evans is going to be, at least in my opinion, a match. I mean, just like anyone, but I think him specifically, for him to be successful in a fantasy perspective, I think it's really going to depend on where he lands specifically. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we've been wrong before. I've been wrong. You've been wrong. It happens. Yeah. We have these opinions on players, and we find out where the dice may fall once they get into the NFL. All right, Drew's up. We are already an hour and 15 minutes into this stream, and we haven't gone through the first round.
I know. Maybe we'll hurry it up, or I don't know. Up to you. I'm down to continue going. Fun.
Yeah, I'm having fun. Hopefully, everyone else is.
Let's see where who Drew
Brandon McManus goes off the board, and you still had Nick Folk available, Rodrigo Blankenship.
Oh, R.I.P. Rodrigo, huh?
Honestly, what happened? He was
fell off the wagon.
Yeah. Adam Vinatieri still up. Okay, don't love the player, but can't pass on the top 10 quarterback in Will Levis. Honestly, I think that makes a ton of sense. That really, really does. What was he drafted in this mock draft? 6th overall to the Colts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Six overall to the Colts.
So you get him here at the 110. I mean, that's definitely a steal. I have my own serious concerns about his ability to process the game in real time. So he would definitely be my fourth of those 4 top quarterbacks. But I know a lot of people have him as their 1, and they think he's going to be the second coming of Josh Allen. We'll wait and see what will happen, but I have some serious concerns about him personally.
Yeah. Now, Will Levis is a guy, very interesting. I like, we'll see, once again, not much information of the updated, but from everything that I know a lot of people don't like him, but I didn't think the offense was favorable to him at all, personally. They didn't open it up.
I agree.
A lot of short, condensed passes on the line of scrimmage. They didn't really let him open up at all completely, and
to be fair, that's how he found success last year with Wandale. And that's exactly. Also a big concern for me. Because watching last year's film, I was like, this dude is winning so much from Wandale in the open space. Not necessarily from reading the play. So that's a concern, but I get it. Yeah,
so, I mean, I still like Will. Is he a top guy that I thought he could potentially be based off what he's done this past year? No, not anymore. Does he still have the talent? Absolutely. I think he has the mold, kind of what we're seeing with Anthony Richardson. Will Levis has, like you said, the second coming of Josh Allen. We've seen the mold, and we've seen it come to perfection with Josh Allen. Can that happen again with either Anthony or Will? I think it can. It just needs to be the right people. You want?
Sure.
I think I'd rather have Anthony Richardson in the Bucks than Will Levis at the Colts, personally. At least with the makeup and the head coaching of everything that they have, and Jim Irsay is very in La La Land with everything right now. So I'm not sure if I like the way he's building his own organization, but we'll see what happens. But I like Will Levis here at the 1.
I like Jim Irsay because at least he is the only person who has ever publicly stated that Dan Snyder needs to be voted out at Washington. So I'll rock with him. But just to give, there's always people who comment these later and they're like, you didn't say this about this player. With Will Levis, do I like him? No. Do I think he has the highest bust potential of any quarterback in this class, the top guys? Yes, I do think he has the highest bust potential. But I will say, to be fair, had one of the worst offensive lines this year, by far. Was dealing with turf toe all year, and had really young, inexperienced weapons. So I understand that all those things could have changed what we could have seen from him. I can't love Anthony Richardson and this mold and then shit all over Will Levis, even though that's what I want to do. But similar players. You just got a player with similar upside at the 110, but someone else paid a 102 price for it. So maybe he does become a good value if he falls here. I mean, if he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL draft, how does he fall to the 110? I don't think that's possible. So, yeah, I definitely prefer Richardson if I'm getting just like a raw quarterback to build around and traits-wise, but that's a good steal there, I would say. Like, that becomes a good value at that point.
Yeah, no.
You get all the risk of the 102, but none of the, like, holy shit, I just passed on all of these guys. Do you know what I mean? You're like, I'm taking the risk, but I didn't have Gibbs, Stroud, Jackson, Addison, Bryce, Quentin, and Zach as options, Yeah. So.
Agreed. Yeah, let's see. I mean, Brother Will, the mold. The mold is there.
Yeah.
It's available.
I mean, imagine like Anthony Richardson and Will Levis end up being like 3rd-round picks this year. And we're like, oh shit.
Well, I mean, I think that could be the case. Like, for example, I think Richardson and Will can fall to the 2nd, and teams that we expected to take him in the 1st earlier would take him.
Yeah.
Like, I can see the Colts taking a chance on, you know what? Hey, let's see if he falls, and if not, that's okay. We'll figure it out, because they've been on this roller coaster of getting these free agency guys, Matt Ryan.
Maybe they don't want to do that anymore, though.
Maybe they don't.
Maybe they're like, we can't do this. Let's try.
Yeah, maybe. But there is some opportunity there for like some of these other players or these quarterbacks.
Sure.
I mean, Jordan Love is an option.
Yeah.
Apparently, Derek Carr could be an option if they have if something can happen. I mean, there's so much that can happen. So
yeah. I was gonna say something, but I forget now. Yeah. Anyway, Who knows, man? Who knows? I think it's good risk reward there, though. I think the difference, though, between last year's class and this year's class is I actually feel like there's a legit reason based off of their upside to take those 2 projects in the first round. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like the other guys in last year's class, we said it all offseason. Like, it's not a good quarterback class. I see the pathway for these 2 guys.
Yeah.
To be that explosive type of game-changing, franchise-changing quarterback.
Yeah, I think we only had 1 lock in the first. We had a second.
So you cut out there.
I said we did have 1 lock in the first, which was Kenny, and the second one we were like, well, Malik could go in the first, but we won't be surprised if he falls to the second. But then he didn't go until the third.
That was a shock. I mean, we thought all those guys would be gone by the second for sure.
Yeah.
So again, with the quarterback position, draft capital, landing spot, coaching staff, all that stuff is going to be really, really important. All right, we see Josh Downs go at the 111. Josh Downs lands with the Browns. We call them Downtown Downs Browns is what we'll call him. But Josh Downs, a lot of people are really, really high on Josh Downs. I like his game. I'm not going to say I'm out because I'm definitely not out, but I wouldn't say that I'm as high on him as others. In fact, there are still 2 wide receivers I would draft over Josh Downs personally. We'll have to wait and see what their draft capital ends up being. But let's talk about him real quickly. He is currently my wide receiver 6 in this year's class. He is in a tier 3 with 3 other wide receivers. Those other 2 have not been drafted yet. But one thing I will say about Downs is that he has always put up big numbers. He has proven to be able to handle a lot of targets. We're talking 150, 160. Like in college football, that's incredible to see that kind of targets share over the course of a year.
Right.
This year, 94 receptions on 116 targets, 11 touchdowns. Like I said, great dominator rating. We like to see that. Early breakout age of 19, just over 19 in 1 month, I believe. I would say he is a very good contested catcher. So 72.2% contested catch rate this year. If you look at wide receivers who had a minimum of 55 targets, that is good for 9th in the country. I was really, really surprised about Josh Downs and his hands. Contested catches, ball tracking ability, strength through, contact on catches. That was a part of his game that really was highlighted to me that I really liked. And I thought was impressive. But not, in my opinion, doesn't offer you a whole lot after the catch. If there's blockers, then he can use his speed, but I don't think he necessarily is going to be a difficult player to take down in the open field. And I don't think his route running is where it needs to be considered a first-round pick. At the back end of last year's draft, we had like Jahan Dotson, we had like George Pickens, and Jahan Dotson was a very good route runner out of college. I don't think Josh Downs is that type of route runner that is worthy of a late first pick. I'm not saying it's a wrong pick, but he feels a little bit lazy to me on his routes. At the stem, beginning of the branch, at times rounds it off. Doesn't have those quick, decisive snaps that manipulation of a defender with the head fakes. We don't see those kind of things in his routes. Now, at times we do, but we don't see it consistently. And when he's not involved in a play, it's like he couldn't care less. Like he's just like, I'm here, and like I'm not gonna even pretend that I'm running a route. It's
right.
So I don't know. There's some really clear strengths and weaknesses for me with him. He's not gonna be playing outside. Certainly not at 5'10", 175. So
slot guy.
He'll be a slot guy. He played 82.7% in the slot last year. So he definitely will not be someone who you will find playing out wide at 5'10", 175. But yeah, interesting player. Goes to the Browns. Anything can happen in Cleveland.
It is interesting, and I think everything that you're saying and everything I've read and seen. Good, complimentary wide receiver too, a guy that can help.
Yes.
Help, open up the field. He's gonna be that guy that's probably gonna have those games where he can finish as the wide receiver. Someone like a Zay Jones, he just finished wide receiver 1.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
He's had a crazy game. It's probably not going to happen again. It's probably going to be one of those careers where he's kind of like going back and forth.
I had a comp for him that I thought, so with these there's so many of these receivers nowadays. Hey, they're like a little bit undersized, not very heavy, and like, what is the obvious comp that everyone places on these type of guys? It's Tyler Lockett. Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, undersized, you can play in the slot, Tyler Lockett. Like, Tyler Lockett. But the difference is, like, all these players that people are trying to comp Tyler Lockett to, they didn't have the production that Tyler Lockett had out of K-State. Tyler Lockett put up huge, massive numbers out of K-State. The difference between all the other prospects in this year's class and Josh Downs is Downs has that production. He has those big numbers to kind of make that comp reasonable with the size. So I think Tyler Lockett, like, that's the kind of role that's the ceiling. He doesn't have a higher ceiling than Tyler Lockett. Like, that's what he could become. Yeah. Now the floor, I have a much lower floor for him because of those concerns. I said Russell Gage, KJ Hamler, like it's a lower floor for me. But again, that ceiling of a Tyler Lockett is attainable if it's the right place, if it's the right area for him in the NFL. So let's see.
No, I like it. I think there's a couple teams he can definitely go to. So let's see what happens.
Yep. We'll go on to the 112. I can't believe we're only at like the end of the first, and it's been an hour and 27 minutes since we started streaming.
It's crazy.
What the?
Let's see.
All right.
Let's see what he takes.
I'm gonna need to. We're not gonna do 3 rounds today, guys. We're gonna do 2. 3 rounds just is gonna be unrealistic. Oh, oops. Let me just make this linear before we go to the next one as well.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so this is Sean Tucker.
Come on, baby.
I know you are a big Sean Tucker guy. I definitely have grown fond of him as well. I believe he's my running back 4 right behind Zach Evans, and I have him in the same tier as Zach Evans. Did you want to share any thoughts on Tucker? I know you like him.
Yeah, no, Tucker's my guy. I'm pretty sure he's my RB3 right now before scouting, but he's a guy that I love. I think he is a workhorse guy. He can catch the ball and pound it between the tackles, excuse me. So I think he's the guy. And I think one thing that we were talking about in the beginning of the season, was his yards per carry, and that's gotten up.
Efficiency, yeah.
5.1, baby, talk it up.
Yeah.
I was like, I just need him to finish over 5.
Yeah.
And that was a big conversation. That was a big conversation. I was like, oh, even if he doesn't finish, let's see what happens,
Yeah.
Because it was pretty bad early in the season. But I think he is a guy. He's a workhorse guy. He can get 20 plus touches a game, and he'd be fine. Like I said, he can catch the ball, and he can punch it in. He's a big body bends, baby. In my opinion, 5'10", 205 pounds. I love everything that he's doing and what he can do. It's going to be hard because there's so many running backs in this freaking class and in free agency that is he can get lost.
Sure.
Unfortunately, but I like Sean Tucker.
If you put Sean Tucker in last year's class, he's my RB3. Like, right. I do like him. But you're right. And I think it is a valid concern, the yards per carry. I mean, look at Bijan this year, 6.1. You look at Jahmyr Gibbs this year, yards per carry, 6.3. You look at Zach Evans this year, yards per carry is at 6.6. So, when you look at the elite guys in this class, that upper echelon, and considering that he didn't face SEC competition, he didn't face even Big Ten competition. He was in the ACC, which is a weaker conference defensively than those other guys. It is slightly concerning, right? I think at minimum it's slightly concerning that he didn't do it there. But at the same time, I would say his supporting cast is much weaker at Syracuse than those other running backs that we have discussed so far. So he was probably asked to do more, and the game plan would have been more focused around Sean Tucker than some of those other players. So I agree. Love the explosiveness. Love the long run speed. I think he is another one of those players that I think can be a workhorse running back in the NFL. And there's certainly a tier of those guys that I really like. If I can bring it up, let me just bring it up real fast because he does fall into that tier for me of running backs this year that I would say fill that role. So obviously Bijan, Jahmyr, no questions. I feel fine with them. But my tier 3, because I have Bijan tier 1, Gibbs tier 2, and then my tier 3, I've got guys like Evans there, Sean Tucker, Zach Charbonnet, Blake Corum. So I think he falls within that category of certainly has shown on film as well as production that he can handle 15 to 20 carries a game, and he can do some really, really special things in the open field. So I like Tucker. I think he's going to be that back into the first, early second type pick this year for sure.
Yeah, I like it as well. I think
he didn't get drafted in this one though, did he?
No, he didn't get drafted. Okay. That's what I was going to say. He didn't get drafted. So I was wondering where that was. What's going to happen there, but yeah, there's so many places that he can go. I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
I think he'll get. I personally think he will get. I think he'll get at least 3rd round draft capital.
Yeah,
I think that's attainable for him.
Yeah,
hopefully not 4th. Hopefully he gets in that 3rd, but I think it's really possible.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we recap this first round? We will do a second round as well. So to recap, Bijan goes to the Ravens. Anthony Richardson goes to the Bucks. Jahmyr Gibbs goes to the Bills. C.J. Stroud to the Seahawks. Jackson Smith to the Pats. Jordan Addison to the Packers, if I believe that's right. Yep. Bryce Young goes to the Texans. Quentin Johnston in the first round to the Panthers. Zach Evans goes to the Dolphins, which we love that landing spot. Will Levis looks like a potential steal here at the 10 spot to the Colts. Josh Downs is a Brown. We call him Downtown Josh Downs the Brown. And then Sean Tucker didn't get drafted, but we're pretty confident he'll see at least late 3rd, early 4th draft capital. We'll have to see. It's a deep class. Yeah, but we do like Sean Tucker. Hey, we're at the halfway point, guys. If you can do us a huge favor as we kind of, take time out and host these drafts, all we ask in return is that you potentially drop a like for us on the stream.
You like that?
If you like the content, if you like the Dynasty content, please consider dropping a like. It is a really easy way for you to support what we do, to support our work. 140 people watching, and we have 89 likes. Help us right now get to that 100 like mark at least before we head off for Christmas break. Would definitely appreciate that love, appreciate that support. And one thing I've been doing as well, Badake, is just telling people about our Twitter. I know you and I are we're not the biggest people on Twitter, but we know it's important, and we're trying to be a bigger presence. I really, really appreciate everyone who has followed me over the last couple weeks. So I will paste my username there. At times, I'll retweet things about the draft. I'll tell you buy lows for Dynasty. We'll talk about prospects. Like I recently put up a little bit of film because we can't put film on YouTube, but I recently put up a little bit of film on Jackson Smith and Jigba, showing you guys 3 areas of his game that I really like. So again, if you're big on Twitter, I know it's a big part of Dynasty, consider giving us a follow. Badake, yours is _ Badake, is that right?
I think it's just
Badake _
Badake _ yeah. Badake.
Is that 2 underscores or 1?
It's 2 underscores.
Okay, 2 underscores. So I'll also put Badake's Twitter in here as well, if you guys can show him some love. I know we're both aware of how important Twitter is to the Dynasty community. We're trying to get better. We're trying to get better. We really don't like the toxicity on Twitter, but we're trying to be a good presence in the space, if you will, right?
I'm trying.
Yeah, so do us a favor, drop us a follow there. If you like Twitter, or if you're a part of Twitter, or if you enjoy interacting on Twitter. So let's go ahead and get to this second round though, because this is where things get interesting. I personally think that the second round, specifically from the 201 to the 206, I think it is really strong. I really like this beginning of the second round, especially if you're looking for a running back. I think there's a lot of good values here. This part of the draft, I would say the second round in particular is way stronger than 2021. The first round up for grabs, hard to say, but I would say the second round, no doubt in my mind, is by far a much stronger second round than we saw last year. So we'll be interesting to see where these players land, but let's go ahead and let G Money make his pick. If he's there, I mean, it's been an hour and 35 minutes since he made his first pick. So
G Money holding it down, brother. We appreciate you.
Everyone seems to be active though, which is good to see.
Yeah. Oh, he's not typing.
I'm gonna see if If he is on auto, we'll ask the chat what they want to happen here. Hey, just in case G Money is on auto, why don't you guys go ahead and comment down below who should be the 201? The most commented player, will be the one that we draft if G Money decides, you know, if he had to go do something. So comment down below and let us know who you think the 201 should be. Love the Richardson second pick. Shrimp Boy says, where's Dwayne McBride for y'all? Dwayne McBride is one of those players that I need to do more scouting on. What we don't ever want to do is come on the stream and pretend like we know a player and just get through it. I need to do more scouting on Dwayne McBride. I'm aware of the name. I know who he is. I'm going to try and spend time over the break really getting finalized thoughts on the running back position. But I know he's a sleeper for sure. Out of UAB.
Yeah, UAB, right?
Huge numbers this year and massively efficient. Like over 7 yards per carry, 19 touchdowns type crazy numbers. So it looks like he did make a pick. We'll find out who it is. But I'll have to see who he is on film first.
Michael Mayer.
All right, this is Michael Mayer. I don't think that's crazy considering he was a first round tight end. No, this is not a tight end premium format, but
I thought I was gonna be able to get him, but yeah, I mean there he goes. I like him.
I don't think it's crazy to draft him here. It's not tight end premium, but he does get first round capital in the mock draft that we're using for landing spots. In fact, he gets drafted to the Lions at 18. We see that a lot, actually. Do I think Michael Mayer is like an athletic freak and could average like 90 catches a year? I don't know. I'm not so certain. I think he's a very good tight end in a lot of different areas. Good as a blocker, great as a pass catcher, good teammate, plays the position really well. But I don't know that he has any sort of elite athleticism that's going to make him this top 3 tight end in Dynasty. It's not outside the range of outcomes, but I think like volume will be very important for his fantasy career. It's not going to be something that I think he just demands straight away. But the first round capital is very good. We didn't have a first round tight end in last year's class. So that's good capital.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is good capital. Well, last year was, I was going to say last year was.
Trey McBride, right? Second round.
Yeah.
Was the first one.
Trey McBride was second round, and then Kyle Pitts was the first round the year before.
Yeah. So this isn't crazy.
No.
That's not crazy at all. All right. And I like landing spot because...
Yeah, I like the Lions. I think it makes so much sense, especially if they have a healthy guy. The tight end position is a massive part of the blocking scheme for that team as well. So, I mean, we saw that with TJ, and we still see that now. So,
son of a bitch. Are you kidding me?
Xavier Hutchinson.
G16, you're not allowed in the next mock draft that we do after the Christmas break. You are not allowed because you keep taking this away from me. You keep taking away my sleeper of the draft away from me. You're trolling on purpose. I know you're looking for the reaction, and you're getting it right now. But next time, you're not allowed in because I want to draft Xavier Hutchinson in the second round. I don't want it to be someone else. But
I want to know because I don't know much about Xavier Hutchinson. Good.
Okay, well let me put him on the board. Oh, I'm so annoyed. He did this last time at the 201. You're not allowed next time, G16. You're not allowed. All right, Xavier Hutchinson goes off the board here at the 201. Right now, I don't think he has the draft capital that's going to validate this early of a selection, but he is one of those players that I have said multiple times I think is going to be a big riser from here until April. Let me go ahead and tell you guys a little bit about him. So I just want to make sure
he's 6'3", 205. That's what I know about him.
Okay, so where is he right now? They have him right here around. So right now his projected draft capital is a 4th round pick. Now, if he ends up being a 4th round pick, you cannot consider him this early in the second round. But I am absolutely obsessed with his game. We've already seen a little jump in his ADP, and this is NFL Mock Draft Database, which collects all the major analysts, mock drafters, like around the sphere, and compiles data from them. So we're already seeing this little climb. I'm hoping that come April, he's at minimum an early 3rd. late second. I really want that sort of capital to consider him this early in the second round. But as far as him as a player, let me open my notes a little bit and tell you guys about why I love him. I honestly had no expectations for Xavier Hutchinson. I had no expectations for him. I didn't really know much about him. Then when I watched this film, I fell in love. Originally a 3-star recruit. He is from Jacksonville, Florida. So I think it's important to say that he's from Jacksonville.
Duval, brother.
Yeah, Duval. Because we've seen him a couple times be mocked to the Jags. But, okay. So 3-star recruit from Jacksonville, Florida. Why is he such a late blooming star? Well, that's because he spent his first couple years at JUCO. And then Iowa State found him. He transferred to Iowa State. Dual sport athlete. And I have a controversial take I'll say in 1 second after I tell you why I like him. Okay, firstly, clean, quick cuts at the break point of a route. Okay? At that decision point, at the hesitation, when you're trying to create that separation, he has that clean, quick cuts that you're looking for. Great first quick step off the line of scrimmage. Special ability to kind of lull a defensive back on the mid part of your route and then burst into that second point. Good hesitation moves in open space to gain space. Can create separation really well. There's many times where I'm watching Xavier Hutchinson on film and the defender is genuinely scared. They're genuinely scared. They're playing zone coverage and they're like, holy shit, I have no idea if this guy's going left, right, or straight. I don't know what's happening. And because he has that respect this year at Iowa State, it allowed him to create separation really, really well. Great hands, special body control from Xavier Hutchinson. Quarterback play was not very good at Iowa State this year. So many balls where it's overthrown or massively underthrown. And Xavier Hutchinson is forced into these scenarios where he has to make circus catches. And it's awesome because we're looking at the film and we're like, holy shit, this guy makes some incredible catches. But I wonder what his production could have been if his quarterback play was even a little bit better. But special hands, good ball tracking, specifically like over the shoulder. Like when you're trying to track the ball in midair and you're like, oh, okay, and you barely catch it over your shoulder. Does that really, really well. One-on-one contested catches he's very good at. Great size, 6'3", 205. Good, like plenty of size to be an outside X wide receiver. Good game speed. We'll have to see what it looks like when it comes to testing. Like that's going to be important. But if you're looking for a comp, my ceiling, combine these two players. A ceiling, remember, I'll give you a floor. The ceiling, Terry McLaurin, Adam Thielen. I think you combine those two players, that's the type of skill set he can give you. Now his floor, a little bit lower. We're looking at like a Tyler Boyd type player, Paris Campbell, talented players who aren't the one on their team. However, I think he can be a one if he's put in the right spot and given the right opportunities. Obsessed with him, put up huge numbers. I think he deserves a Blitnikoff over Jalen Hyatt. I think obviously Marvin Harrison deserves it over anyone, but that trophy was given out for stats. I don't think, not for who's actually the best wide receiver in college football, unfortunately. Versatile player as well, by the way. Played 21% in the slot in 2021, 77% outside, and then in 2022 they were like, let's just get the ball in this guy's hands. He played 30% in the slot while playing 70% out wide. You can put him wherever you want at 6'3", 205. Good dominator rating as well. Late breakout age, but I think that's, again, because he had to transfer. So I love him. I love him. I'm one of those players where you put the film on and you're like, oh my God, why is no one talking about this guy? Why is no one talking about him yet? That was Xavier Hutchinson for me. And my hot take on him is if he was 2 years younger, because he started 2 years late, but if he was 2 years younger and he played for Alabama or Ohio State, this is a top 20 pick in the first round of the NFL draft this year.
What's his age again?
No doubt in my mind. I believe he's going to be 22 years old right now. I think he could be 23 when he's drafted. I'll have to double check that. But that is a concern. Obviously, you want your receivers at least to be 21, 20, would be ideal, 22. But if he's 23, that, some people might look at it and say, well, A little bit of a concern. So
No, it's good.
I love him.
I just watched quick highlights of him as you were talking.
I'm a huge fan.
He's pretty big. He's quick, like you said. He's versatile. He's that big body guy. He's 6'3", so it feels comfy from where he's at right now. I mean, he's just a guy that can. Yeah, I think even if he's drafted in the 3rd round, hypothetically, I think he can definitely still.
I agree.
Somebody,
like the talent can win out. Yeah.
Yeah, he can definitely just be somebody. Hopefully, maybe like, all right, well, he's just beat out this person, and he's gonna be the wide receiver 2 on this team, and he continues to get better and better and better. I can definitely see that happening.
You guys might have remembered earlier I said I had 2 people in tier 1, right? Jackson and Quentin. I had 1 person in my 2nd tier, which was Jordan Addison by himself. In my 3rd tier, I have 3 players. Xavier Hutchinson is my wide receiver 4 right now, which is crazy. Like I'm genuinely scared that I have him this high. Like, what am I missing? You know, one of those players where you watch the film and you're like, you do your grades, and then you look at your final grade and you're like, he's ahead of all these players that people like. You know, like I might have to defend this guy a lot, but I'm a big fan of his, and really excited about what he could be. But I don't think he should be the 202 yet. He needs to at least get 3rd round draft capital to be a third, the 202, at least. Yeah. Right? Because think about last year. We're like 202. We're drafting like Pickens, Pierce. Like those are like 2nd round picks.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that have to go right for him. Landing spot. I mean, there's opportunity, especially with receiver. This wide receiver class is not that deep. 1 and 2. There's some opportunity out there for him to kind of shine. I mean, Texas need wide receivers. The Bears, the Giants. The Falcons need some help as a wide receiver too. The Panthers need there's a lot of teams out there that can definitely use a guy like him. Yeah. Where he can contribute immediately. Sure. I mean, even if Jackson Smith doesn't go to the Patriots, and he gets drafted to the Patriots in like the 2nd or 3rd round, that's just as good.
If that's their first wide receiver this year that they draft, it's Xavier Hutchinson in the 3rd. He, to me, has a very there's not a wide receiver on that team that worries me to overtake him in about a year's time. Yeah. Give him a year, and then I think he's probably the wide receiver 1 on that team. Samuel agrees with me. He says Hutchinson is slept on because his quarterback led the nation in interceptions. I actually didn't know that. Like I said on film, there were so many times that were frustrating to me because I'm like, can you just give him a good ball? But it's good to have that validated because of what I saw on film. I was like, this is rough quarterback play. OC wasn't calling the best plays, but we're on the same page. I love to see it. Anyway, yeah, big fan of his. Very excited to see where he can land, and let's see what will happen. Hopefully the NFL. It's like one of those players you really desperately want the NFL to see what you see. You want it to line up in draft capital. All right, this is Cedric Tillman off the board.
Brother Tilly.
Pretty high for me with Tillman. I'm not a huge Tillman guy. I have to be honest. I don't really like the wide receivers out of Tennessee all that much at all. In general, they're not. I don't really view either of them as players that are going to demand like a high target share in the NFL. But I will say this is both for Xavier and Cedric's case. They are big body receivers, and there's not a lot of them this year, which could help their draft capital, which could put them higher, and you like to see that. But as far as Tillman goes, doesn't offer you much in space at all. Very good route runner. In fact, you will probably watch this game, Badake, when you look at their film. But there's a specific game that I watched. I'm trying to find his scouting report here. Okay. There's a specific game I watched. It was versus Georgia. Yes, versus Georgia. And Georgia has one of the top cornerback prospects in this year's draft, locked and loaded 1st round pick. His name is Keely Ringo. And Keely Ringo was playing a ton of press coverage on Cedric Tillman the entire game. And Tillman was winning. It was impressive. It wasn't with his speed, definitely not with his explosiveness, but with his technique as a route runner. good technique off the line of scrimmage, created space really, really well. I mean, he beat Keeley a lot of times, definitely more times than he lost. So that was impressive to me for me to see him go against one of the best prospects at the cornerback position in press coverage, not zone, in press, and to succeed. But again, below average acceleration, burst, speed, not very good after the catch. In fact, he had 2.9 yards after the catch per reception. That's a really bad number, guys. That turns out to be 209th of 233 wide receivers who saw a minimum of 55 targets this year. It does not have anything to offer you after the catch. Can maybe be a contested catch guy, but is not going to be someone that you give screens or slants to see what he can do after the catch in the NFL. No twitchiness, not very elusive, not good speed, big body, but I think he's very limited, and those are some of the reasons as to why. So, yeah, interesting player.
Yeah, I don't know much about him, but I know who was it that did you like, Tillman or Hyatt from Tennessee? Who was the guy that
I originally liked? Jalen Hyatt, but after watching his film, I'm very, very low on him compared to the rest of the people. Like Mel Kiper, I think has him as his wide receiver too, and I think that's criminal. This is like such a limited wide receiver.
Yeah, I remember like one game. I think it's probably because Hendon Hooker and Hyatt was probably going off that game. He was like, "Bro,
is that Bama?"
I think so.
He scored 5 touchdowns versus Alabama, which was crazy.
Yeah,
we'll talk about Hyatt when someone drafts him, because I do have some very, very specific thoughts on him. But I think he's a very limited receiver, and the fact that he won the Blitnikoff Award, which is the best wide receiver in the country, over Marvin Harrison, over Xavier Hutchinson, is ridiculous. Like who is voting on that? Yeah. If you watch like 4 games of film for Hyatt, you'll see how he wins, and it's hard to see that translating in the NFL.
Yeah,
you're up here. I'm just gonna get some water real fast, and I'll be right back.
No worries. I'm up. Okay. Let me wait until the clock runs out. Back. I think I might go Zach Charbonnet here, guys. This looks like he went in the 3rd round here to the Bucks. I think this is the only guy that I can think of. Zach Charbonnet or Blake Corum. I think but I think I might go Zach Charbonnet here.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's too early or too late.
I don't think so.
I think it's one of these running backs just feels really comfortable to go right now.
Yeah.
I know he had a pretty decent season, 14 touchdowns, averaging 7 yards per carry. And he can catch the ball in the backfield sometimes, 37 receptions, so it's not crazy. And he goes to the Bucks here, I'm assuming taking over that Lenny role.
Yeah.
Which
in fact, I would really worry for Rachaad White if Charbonnet went to the Bucks.
Yeah. But I like him. He's a big body dude, 6'1". He can do work. He's not the fastest, but I mean he's strong. I think he is strong. That's what's different about him.
Yeah, I mean I'll definitely hype him up for you because I think this is a great pick. I actually went back and looked at my running back rankings. Now this is based off of 2021 film, so I do need to over the break review 2022 film. But at that time, he was actually my RB4, right ahead of Sean Tucker. But I had them like right back to back in my grades. It's not as if it was like some big gap between them. But I think with Tuck's age, you might give him the edge there. But Zach Charbonnet, I'm a huge fan of his. Like you said, 6'1", 220. The unfortunate thing for him is he will be an older running back entering the NFL draft. I think he'll be 22 years old when he enters. Which you think about it, after 4 years, a 4-year rookie contract, he'll be 26. Not exactly what you like. I mean, we got Josh Jacobs, who is about to be a free agent, and he's 24 years old, right? So late declare is not ideal. But the reason he came back, which I found a little bit in the research, was he wanted to graduate, which I can respect. He wanted to win a Pac-12 championship, which he didn't do. And he wanted to improve as a pass catcher, which I do think that he did improve in that area. But I wrote down a little blurb on him, and what I said was very impressive vision, which I think you'll see if you watch Zach Charbonnet. The vision is really, really good behind the line of scrimmage. consistently shows an ability to identify the best running lane available. Combination of size, strength, vision, contact balance, and this desire to keep pushing for more yards on every play makes him a real name to watch. I mean, I could see him being drafted in the 3rd round, late 3rd, and instantly being someone who gets 15 to 20 carries on the team. Think about what Dameon Pierce did from day one. Like, if he lands in that scenario, but I actually think Zach Charbonnet would do more with what he was given than Dameon Pierce. Not a slight to him, but I just like him better as a prospect. So, he's one of those guys where, depending on draft capital, I could see him being in my top 24 of Dynasty running back rankings like the day he's drafted. I could legit see that being a possibility. Yeah. Has the production, has the efficiency. Yeah, great year for him. Great year. I like this pick. I think it's a great one.
Yeah. Everything he's done, like you said, I mean, he's done his thing, and he's a big guy. So I'm liking. Yeah. I need to solidify my thoughts on some of these.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense. Steve says, is the 103 too early to take Zach Evans in a 1 quarterback? Yeah, I would say it is. If you're loaded at wide receiver, like you're saying, trade back. That 103 is going to be really valuable. I mean, that's a Jahmyr Gibbs maybe, a Jackson Smith maybe, a Addison, a Quentin Johnston. So if you can trade back to like the 105, 104, 106 and still get like future draft capital, I would be happy to do that. Taking Gibbs at the 102, yeah. I mean, if that's the case, I would be really happy to take Jackson Smith at the 103 then. Because like I've said before, he's one of my only can't miss prospects in this class. Mm-hmm. Okay, so star 3 is going to go Dante Demas Jr. And I do not have a graphic for him. I'm aware of who he is out of Maryland. Him and Rakim Jarrett. I would say most people are higher on Rakim, but I can respect the pick there. I don't have a graphic for Dante Demas Jr. I don't have him in my top 10, but we'll see. Like, let's see what draft capital ends up being with Demas Jr. All right, let's go to the next one here. And in case people want to put a name to a face, normally I have like the faces for all of them. I'll bring his ESPN profile up so you guys can put a name to the face.
Yeah.
Limited production, late declare.
What the?
I'm just not sure that that's going to be a good pick come NFL draft time. It wasn't in my top 10. Doesn't mean that, again, it doesn't mean that's the wrong pick. But 6'4", 215, so you do like the size. But this year, limited production.
So you can't just.
And it's not as if he like had serious injury problems. I mean, he played most of the season. Only 22 catches on the year.
Is he the biggest? He's the biggest wide receiver in the class, I'm assuming.
He definitely would be one of them. I think Quentin is the same size, if not 6'5". So just never really put up a season that I could point to where I'm like, yeah, he put up massive production. And if he's not able to do it at the collegiate level, it really worries me how he could translate to the NFL. Like, I struggle to see a scenario in which he dominates target share on an NFL team. Big body, but has never really established himself. And again, it's been in college football 5 years. He's going to be an older guy coming out. I'm not sure he gets drafted in the top 3 or 4 rounds of the NFL draft. I could be wrong, but let's see. I mean, this is definitely, you could definitely put him in the sleeper category, no doubt. As far as second round capital for rookie drafts.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, who is it here?
Daniel Macy.
Who we got?
Write it in, brother. Write it in.
I love it. I love it. Okay, we are taking Kendre Miller. Let's see. Let me find him.
Miller Light.
We are taking Kendre Miller, running back out of TCU. If I can find his name, here he is. I love this pick. Me and Daniel are typically on the same page, but he knows I'm a big Kendre guy, and I love that he sees it as well. Put up huge numbers this year at TCU. By the way, watch out for Kendre Miller, in the college football playoffs, which we will see here soon. Watch out for him in the college football playoffs because he will be playing against some of the best talent in the NFL. Had a huge season this year, put up massive numbers. As we know, Zach Evans was there before, but Zach Evans transferred to Ole Miss. That left Kendre Miller to kind of dominate this backfield, and he did really well. Yeah, in the Big 10 or Big 12, I'm not sure. I forget where TCU is. I think Big 12. Put up over 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns while averaging 6.2 yards per carry. I don't want to say he's like Javonte Williams because he won't get anywhere near that hype or that draft capital. But like, think about what Javonte Williams is as a player. I see a lot of similarities in their game. Like, very difficult to take down, good initial explosiveness, lateral quickness, doesn't have any sort of a home run speed, but I really am more concerned about like the short area explosiveness with the back like this rather than like that long run speed. Can definitely like catch the ball in the backfield, isn't known for it, but he has shown ability too. Another one of these guys who's a big body, 6 foot 220. You can hand this guy 15 carries in the NFL tomorrow, and he's going to be fine. Like, he's going to be okay. So I'm a big fan of his. And I think the two guys there's 3 people that I've really been kind of saying will rise up boards. I think it'll be Kendre Miller, Xavier Hutchinson, and KJ Jefferson. So, yeah, let's see what happens with him, where he gets drafted. But I wouldn't be surprised if he got 3rd round draft capital, 4th round draft capital. I think that's a real possibility for his type of talent.
No, yeah, and I like him from the little bit that I've seen. He's definitely a really good like complimentary guy. Kind of what I said about like, I see a lot of what I see in Zach Evans.
Sure. Yeah.
And Kendre Miller, like I think they have the same mold in my opinion. I think they're very similar in the way they play. I think Zach Evans a lot faster.
Yeah.
He has the better speed, but maybe it's just because maybe it's the way they look. They're not short and stocky, but they just have a similar build. It feels like
right.
I just see him being a good complimentary guy. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, Kendre Miller could be the Walmart off-brand of Zach Evans. I wouldn't mind that, but
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I get it. I can see it.
Walmart got some good brands, bro. I don't know.
Hey, I mean, why buy the expensive if you can get the off-brand? So like, I'm not anti-off-brands. No way. All right, I like the pick there. I'm a real big fan. But again, more than any other position, draft capital will be extremely important for these running backs.
100%.
All right, let's see what McGungill does here. I think Macy knew I was going to take Kendre. You had to take it away from me. Did KJ say he's returning? Okay, that's definitely depressing. But I get it. I mean, I get it. Okay, we have another one of my favorite sleepers at the wide receiver position. And I wouldn't say he's only my sleeper. I think right now in the Dynasty community, you'll look around, this will be everyone's sleeper. Like, I would say Xavier Hutchinson, I can probably lay claim to like one of the only people who's hyping up right now in the community. But Rashee Rice is like the chosen collective sleeper at the wide receiver position. Like, everyone wants to see this guy do well. They like what they see on film. There's a game specifically against Houston, which I would suggest people to watch if they want to see him, not at his best, but yeah, pretty damn near close. There's a catch he makes in the back of the end zone, which is ridiculous. Like, incredible how he made that catch. But just quickly on him, big size. He's 6'3", 206. Plays with a ton of strength. I mean, 4 key areas of Rashee's game: size, versatility, hands, yak. Those are the big 4 I would say that he succeeds at. And if someone succeeds really well at those areas, I think you could see them being successful in the NFL. Played over 90% in the slot as a junior. Check this transformation out. And then as a senior, he played 82.5% out wide. Talk about versatility, putting up huge numbers in both seasons. They used him everywhere on the field, right? As an end around, out of the slot, as an X. Good contested catcher as well. Great body control in one-on-one scenarios. Can track down the ball really well. Knows exactly when to jump to put himself at good leverage against the defender. However, my big concern with him is his drops. Okay, he had a 9.4% drop rate in college football this year. That is way too high. That's an ugly number. And if you have drop issues in the NFL, they don't have to go back to you. because they got a lot of talent in the NFL. At SMU, which he chose to go there, he had some good offers, but he went to SMU. At SMU, if you drop a couple balls, like, it's fine. There's clearly no one on this roster more talented than Rice, right? You go to the NFL, you don't get that trust, it will be a huge problem. He definitely needs to improve that area of his game. I found it hard to find a comp for him. I have a ceiling. I don't have a floor yet. But my ceiling, and again, this is, if he reached this, it would be incredible. I'm not saying he will. But when you watch his game, you see a little bit of Chris Godwin. Like, you see a little bit of that gameplay after the catch specifically and what Chris Godwin can offer you. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of his and definitely intrigued to see where he lands in the NFL draft.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean,
He wants to jump
Oh
in
my
on
goodness,
it.
sorry.
Instead, he'll just make a
Daniel.
donation.
I just saw it.
Thank you so much for the donation, brother.
we
You did
appreciate
not have
you.
to donate that much. Oh my goodness, that is a lot. Thank you so much, Daniel. It says, happy holiday, guys. Thank you for the awesome fantasy content this year. Looking forward to 2023. Definitely looking
As
forward
always,
as
man.
well.
We appreciate you supporting,
That's
brother.
very kind of you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's very kind.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, for Rice, I've seen a lot of things. Watching
Sorry,
some
keep
of
cutting
his.
in and out. Sorry, there. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just remember watching some of his highlights early on in the season.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to keep up with everyone, and
Yeah.
and he was one of the guys that I watched, and he's especially on the team here. Like you said, what was he? 6'2"?
I think he's
6'2",
6'2", 206 or something around there.
Yeah, so I mean, he has a good body. He has a good body for a guy that can come in and contribute. I mean, right now he's going to the Jags. This one,
Yeah.
which is in the second round.
Which I could see him being their Zay Jones replacement.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely see that.
And probably won't have the same target share as Zay Jones because that would go to Calvin.
Right.
But I could see him competing with Kirk for like targets as that second option.
Looks good. It looks good. I like it.
Big body. Your body is a wonderland.
Big body bends.
Finally a mock with Rasheed over Hyatt. Yeah. It might be because people know I'm very anti Jalen Hyatt via the consensus, maybe. Okay.
You're
I
on
am
the
up.
clock here.
I am on the clock. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next. Rice would have been an auto pick for me there, but unfortunately he's not available.
Who else is available?
There are some quarterbacks I could consider here. I know Tanner McKee got drafted. So did Hendon Hooker in the second round, which is cool to see, to the Raiders. There's a couple guys I kind of just want to draft to like highlight and like bring up. Running back wise, there's still one on the board that I like here. But I'm not sold on him like the rest of the community. Not that I don't like him. He's still in that tier 3 with the Tuckers of the world, but I think just for the sake of highlighting this player, I might draft him. And he's one of those guys I think could also be a riser. This could be a second round pick in the NFL draft, like early second round pick. All right, we are going to take Zay Flowers here. Zay Flowers out of Boston College. Let me find him on my list so I can put him in here. But another one of these undersized wide receivers. He's definitely not someone that I anticipate playing all that much on the outside. I don't think he necessarily has the body to play on the outside. He is 5'10", 172. He'll be an older wide receiver when he enters the draft, I believe at 23 or 22 years old. But I like his speed. He's got great speed. Boston College, you would see it on film. They're just consistently trying to find ways to get him the ball in space and to utilize that speed. So that's definitely a big part of his game. I wouldn't say it's elite, but certainly well above average. I'm curious where he will grade out there. I think it might be like a 4.38 guy, kind of around there, like 4.36 to 4.38. Pretty good after the catch. And I think specifically what I don't like about some of these undersized guys after the catch is their ability to kind of like have a calling card move or to kind of use like that twitchiness to get past the defender. I think he's a very high IQ player in the open field. So that transition point where you're a wide receiver, you catch the ball and you transition into a runner. I think he's got a very high Q in that area. He's able to kind of feel the defender and in the open field use his vision to get to that next level along with his speed and versatility. Good twitchy movements. Again, versatile player. He played 66% out wide, 32% in the slot. Pretty good dominator rating, 36.1%. Again, that's well above elite. Broke out a little bit late, but similar to Rashee Rice, has a big drop issue. Okay, 10.3% drop rate. That's awful, and that's been consistent for his entire career. In fact, he has 24 drops in his career. That is not good. Doesn't matter how good you are after the catch if you can't consistently catch it. That will keep you off the field. And then obviously his size is a little bit of a concern, probably limited to a slot role. And we don't really have enough knowledge on what he will do against press coverage. At BC, he saw a lot of zone where he had free releases off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I'm watching some of his highlights right now. Super twitchy, quick. Yeah. Like he changes directions really fast.
Yes.
Like it's good.
I'm a fan of his. Yeah. I can see him being that number 2 on a team that can be like a reliable option if he can fix his drop issues. I had a comp. Now you guys are gonna have to come back with me here for a second for this comp, because some of you who are newer to the game might not know this player. But does anybody remember Eddie Royal? Does anybody remember that player? Eddie Royal. Yes, played for the Bears, played for the Chargers. Classic. I feel like this is an Eddie Royal clone. Like this is probably the one comp of all the wide receivers that I'm the most proud of, because I feel like if you watch Eddie Royal's game, it is like you're literally watching Zay Flowers. It's like the same player. I feel like that's the kind of upside that you could see with him. The floor is much lower. Like I say, like a Jamison Crowder, like late career Jamison Crowder. But
he said Eddie Royal.
Isn't that crazy, bro? Like I literally was like watching his game. I was like, I know it's so random, but I was thinking about. I was like, damn, this dude reminds me of someone. Like, who is it? I was trying to like go back. I was like, oh my god, the Eddie Royal. This is Eddie Royal, dude. And I haven't been able to get off that comp ever since I saw it. So. Yeah, I'm a fan of his. Definitely interested. You know, I think it was Todd McShay. I can't. It was one of these guys from ESPN. They put him in the first round of the NFL draft. I don't think he gets first round draft capital. He feels like a mid-second to me.
We didn't expect to go in the first round too. Like freaking.
That's true. Yeah, he feels like a mid-second. Like think about where like Alec Pierce went, George Pickens, Sky Moore, Wandale last year. You know, I feel like that's the kind of capital I'm expecting. But maybe he rises. He could. If he was 2 years younger, he could be seriously considered at the end of the first.
He went to the Giants in this comp. I mean, in this
Did
draft. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't make sense for our offense because we're just going really small at wide receiver.
Well, to be fair, that is the kind of move that you guys would make after drafting Wandale when you had Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
Where is his third round?
Yeah, third round, I think. Which once again just wouldn't make sense because I think we.
Oh, second round.
Okay, yeah. So like we got Wanda on the second last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Zay's gonna be able to play outside, and I know for sure Wandale won't be able to.
Yeah, we need an outside person. So I mean, Isaiah Hodgins isn't stepping up.
Yeah, no, he's not the answer.
I know he's not the answer though. Quentin Johnson's the answer. We're gonna trade up for him.
Could be. That would be a nice fit. That would be a nice fit. Anyway, definitely just want to bring some awareness to his name. And if he's here, I think this. I don't see him going lower than this in rookie drafts. But he could end up being like late instead of mid-second. That could be a possibility for sure.
Yeah.
But interesting player. We'll take the right system. I saw a mock where he went to the Patriots, and it was like the only wide receiver they drafted in the second. I think that could be really interesting because he kind of take over like that Jacoby Myers role long term. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Out of the slot.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Let's see where GOAT goes.
Damn, Daniel. Always good when you take Zach's picks before him. It's an honor. Thank you. If Bijan's a 101, if Carolina drafts him, yes, he would be the 101 if Carolina drafts him. I don't have a landing spot where he isn't the 101 personally. Will agrees. Why is Bryce Young at the 107? It was crazy, man. Go watch back. I mean, I don't think he should be at the 107. But it's crazy how it went down. Let's see what...
Take Hyatt. He said he'll take Hyatt, actually.
Okay, he says, don't love it, but we'll take Hyatt since you took Flowers. So I assume he was going to go Flowers. Okay, is it time for me to tell people why I don't like Jalen Hyatt?
Yeah, I'm listening. I want to know, too, because...
Okay. So, first off,
in this draft,
he went to the Chiefs in the first round. This is disgusting. Can people stop doing this? This literally is disgusting. Stop putting Jalen Hyatt in the first round. Okay? I will be so shocked if NFL scouts scout Jalen Hyatt and deem him a first round worthy pick. There's no way this guy should be put in the first round. Okay, let's talk about it a little bit with Jalen Hyatt. To me, he is a very simple player. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just think he wins in a very simple way. And it's not hard to decide what he is going to be in the NFL. He wins with speed. He has speed for days, probably a 4.35 type of speed that we'll see at the combine. You certainly see it on film. I can't take that away from him. He has speed for days. That helps him win over the top because he can pretty much beat everyone in a drag race, but that also helps him win underneath because if you're consistently worried about him beating you over the top, what are you going to do? You're going to give that guy a bunch of space, a huge cushion. And you saw that consistently on film. That's how he would win underneath. Now, that speed's going to translate in the NFL for sure. However, he does not possess elite or even above average traits as a route runner. In fact, the first 7 touchdowns I watched on film, and I'm not kidding you, the first 7 touchdowns I watched on film were from go routes where it was a broken coverage.
GG's. And
he was either wide open or he used his speed to beat a man one-on-one with no help. There's not many examples on film where he wins based off his route running and ability to create separation off of technique. So, in short, not very good open field elusiveness, not really good after the catch. His yards after the catch number is massively inflated because of those broken plays. When you have like 10 plus touchdowns and most of them were broken coverages where you beat a man one-on-one and then you have 30 yards ahead of you, of course your yards after the catch number is going to look pretty good. But I think the context of that is really important. By the way, didn't break out until the age of 21. That is really late breakout age. Not a very high dominator rating. You guys remember Velus Jones Jr.? Do you guys remember that?
25-year-old rookie? Yeah, I mean, he's a great player. Didn't get the opportunity this year, but...
Velus Jones Jr. kept this guy off the field.
Shout out to Velus, huh?
In college, Velus kept this guy off the field. Okay? So did Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer kept this guy off the field. So I think Jalen Hyatt is the product of bad coverage, good quarterback, and some really, really good games where he won with his speed. But if you're looking at him as a route runner, he is not a good route runner. Very simplified route tree, does not have head fakes, does not have good short area explosiveness, twitchiness. He has speed, but he doesn't have that like twitchiness that you see in the open field. Not very elusive, played 87% of his time in the slot. And with his limitations as a route runner, we think he's going to play out wide in the NFL? Why? I mean, he saw mostly zone coverage. You think he's going to win in press coverage off the line of scrimmage versus these huge DBs? I don't think so. Pretty good contested catch rate, but he only had 5 contested catch targets, so that's hard to really... That's not a very good, sample size. So, anyway, when I look at him, my ceiling for him is Will Fuller. That is the absolute ceiling. This is not a Deshaun Jackson type scenario, in my opinion. Nowhere near it. It's a Will Fuller at best, if not MVS. We're looking at MVS, Philip Dorsett. That's the floor for him. So, I don't even think he was the best wide receiver on his team. At times he was, and because of the production, you would have to put him there. But he's my 9th wide receiver in this year's class right now. He's my wide receiver 9. So
look, it's not bad. I mean, the things that you said about like him he wasn't on the field because of Valus and all these other people. I think that's very undeniable.
yeah.
So I think that's a big thing to watch, and I don't think he was ever going to be a top prospect anyway. To be a contributor, maybe a special teams guy, a guy that's going to come in and
I think he can be like a 2 or a 3 where he opens the field up for you. Like the defense has to account for his speed.
Right. Okay.
But I think he, like, if you put Tyquan Thornton in, like, it's exactly like the point, right? Tyquan Thornton was a 2nd-round pick last year. What does Jalen Hyatt do better than Tyquan Thornton? Nothing. And should Tyquan Thornton have been a 2nd-round pick? Hard to say. Too early. We can't write him off yet, but probably not. At the time, it was like, what the hell? What are these guys doing? And now it's like, I don't understand why you did that. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I just could not believe when Mel Kiper had him as wide receiver 2. How the hell does Mel Kiper have him as wide receiver 2? How is that possible?
Well, the hell's Mel Kiper?
Who the hell is Mel Kiper anyway?
That's crazy. I mean, hey, what do we know?
What do we know? I don't work for ESPN as a scouting, as a draft analyst, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, we have a pick and then an auto draft, so we'll have to decide who 11 is. So but this is Tank Bigsby off the board. Tank is one of those guys who he was such a hype name early in his career, and like for good reason. Highly, sought after recruit, had a pretty good first season, but I don't see much explosiveness. Definitely doesn't have long run speed. I think he's a strong player, kind of like Zamir White again last year. Kind of feel the same way about him. Like, strong player, can be a guy you go to, 10 times a game to kind of short yard scenarios, but not going to offer you a whole lot in the open field, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, he looks pretty average. He didn't put up impressive numbers this year either, at least from, in my opinion. He didn't break 1,000 yards.
Auburn was awful, to be fair. They were an awful team, but you're right.
179 attempts. So it just wasn't amazing here, and I think he's strong. I think
he is strong.
What's really good for him is like maybe it's the thought process of what I thought Dameon Pierce was going to be. I said Dameon Pierce could be the guy that comes in. You don't have a big back,
Sure.
You don't have the big back, but you're on the goal line and you need somebody to punch it in. Tank can be that guy because he has the strength to do that. But I don't know if he's going to contribute in any other way, in my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah, so
I'm looking back on my notes from him from last year's film. A couple things I wrote down was has a very good cutback, like a signature cutback. And he excels when the offensive line creates a running lane for him. However, he doesn't seem to be one of those running backs that has a great ability to create yards and space on his own account, on his own accord.
Right.
So, yeah, he was one of those players that everyone loves the name Tank. And maybe it's because his name is Tank. We're like, oh, fuck, that would be so cool if this guy was a superstar. But with the amount of talent right now in open spots and players moving around, I find a really hard time seeing him being a workhorse in the NFL. Yeah. I don't think he beats out all the other running backs in the NFL that could be moving,
Yeah. It's going to be tough for these running backs that are coming in outside of the 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Because they can just get lost in depth chart, or at least I think I said this earlier, like a while back. I was like, these guys are going to be relevant, but they're not going to be relevant in the first year or two. I think it's going to take time when like these people that are in shuffling right now, when the CMCs go out, when the Saquons go out, when I say go out, I mean like done. You know, the Nick Chubbs are getting to that age where it's like, okay, they probably have another year or two, you know, maybe a 3 for some of these guys, and then these guys kind of emerge.
Sure.
And it's going to be a bit late, but it's only going to be like 1 or 2 of these guys kind of emerge really late, in my opinion.
You mean outside the elite, right? Like
Yeah,
we
exactly.
believe Bijan and Jameer will be
yes
dominant
outside of the elite
day
Correct.
one, but you're saying like the Tuckers, the Evans, the Charbonnets, the Kendrays.
Yeah, like they may not have the massive opportunity right now, but maybe like their second, third year.
Yeah.
And it was just too many mouths to feed at the time because of the way the running back room was shuffling.
Yeah, it'll be it'll be interesting because, like, you know, more than any other position, draft capital and landing spot are important for running backs. And last week we saw Sean Tucker go to the Bengals in the 3rd round. And I was like, this is a really bad landing spot because you have Joe Mixon on the books with no out, I believe, until the 2026 free agency. And as bad as that sounds, that's a real possibility for something like that to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's only so many teams, and there are so many running backs who are going to have a new area this year, a new team, and a new assignment. So
opportunity, and they're going to want to invest in those guys too. You know?
Yeah, we could see some of these guys put in really tough scenarios where there's a paid vet who is very good ahead of them. And that happens every year. I mean, you and I loved Jerome Ford last year, right? Didn't get the capital, though. We had to adjust. Didn't get the capital. Was buried in the depth chart in Cleveland. And I still think he's a good buy because he could... Kareem Hunt's probably not coming back. And he could be that RB2 there next year. Mm-hmm. But didn't get the capital we wanted. And that's just the reality. When you can love a player, but if they don't get the capital or the spot... You have to adjust. You have to.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So this was an auto pick. I'm going to go ahead and... Do you have someone in particular? I have someone in particular that I think we should put here.
No, I think there is one. It's a running back.
Same.
I don't know if you're thinking of a running back.
I'm thinking Blake.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking.
Okay. Because I probably am taking Blake over Tank.
Yes.
Okay, so we put Blake here. I've heard a couple people comp him to Ray Rice, which I get. I can see. The reason he's not as high for me, like, I think he is like mid to late 2nd round pick in drafts. That's where I would put him. I wouldn't put him higher. I know some people think he's one of the best in the class. What I have heard, I'm not saying it's what my belief is, but what I have heard from a lot of people is that the offensive line in Michigan is probably one of the best in the country. And that would have been a big contributor to his success. I actually don't think he's even the best running back on his team. I'm a huge Donovan Edwards guy. Love Donovan Edwards for next year's class. I think Donovan Edwards is going to be an absolute superstar.
Right.
But he put up huge numbers. What was it, 20 touchdowns? Like
18 who? Edwards or Blake?
Blake Corum.
Yeah, 18 touchdowns, over 1,400 yards. So
yeah,
kind of did
numbers.
his thing. Yeah,
so
he
deserves some
well.
respect. Yeah.
Yeah.
He deserves some respect for sure. But yeah, I don't think he's any sort of 1st round pick for me in rookie drafts.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. I think what I saw from him, obviously in college, and yeah, like I didn't know lines. Again, I'm still coming back. I've been away for 3 weeks. If you guys haven't been here, maybe you're watching later. Haven't been here for 3 weeks, so kind of catching up with everything that's happening. But yeah, I mean, from what I know from Blake and what I've seen in college, he's great. Size definitely is a worry. 5'8",
sure.
210. Maybe he's a reliever back. Maybe he's a back that plays in a committee. Is he a workhorse guy? I mean, in college, he got the touches. I mean, 28 times. He got 28 touches in one game, 33, 29, 25. I mean, he could get the workload. But can he get the workload in the NFL? That's the big question.
Frame, though, is a strong frame at 210. Like, he is a bulky dude. He might not have the height, but he's a bulky dude. I think he can handle those carries.
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting. I'm trying to think of somebody right now that reminds me of him.
Yeah, like if Tyler Beatty was 20 pounds heavier, yeah, like it feels similar.
Yeah,
and a big reason why Beatty didn't get drafted was because of the size, but he didn't have that frame that Corum has.
Yeah, and I think what's going to help him is everything he's done. You know, Michigan, a big school, and the draft capital could potentially be there for him. If he goes in the second round, what if he goes to the Texans and backs up Damian? That would be nice.
Yeah, I could see that being a real possibility.
And
him being like the 2 to a 1-2 punch.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of the thought process with Blake. You know, him coming in, taking away opportunity from somebody, maybe 10 to 15 touches, and kind of being that change
Tony
of pace
Pollard
back.
almost. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, so we see Devin Akane go off the board last. I've been pretty open in public that he's just off my board. I mean, I believe he's gonna weigh in around 175 as a running back. I mean, what do you do with that? He's going to be very limited in the NFL, but I get it from the speed, like one of the fastest players in college football, to take him here this late. I can definitely understand that, but I think he's going to be a very limited player in the NFL, not very tall, doesn't have a good frame like Corum does. It's kind of like the opposite players here. Blake Corum is small, but he's got a huge frame and a lot of strength. Akane does not. And for those people who are like, well, he'll probably bulk up then, right, before the draft. Well, if you do that, then you lose your elite speed, you know? So it's like he's in a tough space. He's in like a lose-lose scenario, I think. But someone has to be very creative for him to be fantasy relevant. Best case scenario, he's like a third down running back, like a James White in James White's elite years.
Right.
But yeah, I am definitely, he's just off my board. I'm like, there's so many examples of this type of player not working out in the NFL.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with so many, not players, but so many good like opportunity for people to come in with that has the speed.
Yeah.
We won't see. So, Devin A Train got the speed, brother, but
A Train.
I don't know if you got the size and everything.
Jake
else,
says, Badake, welcome back, brother.
How you doing, man? Appreciate you, gluten freak.
Scary says NFL teams love a field stretcher. Maybe that's the only reason it has a high draft capital. Yeah, I agree. But definitely not a great real-life receiver, for sure. Yeah, and he's not someone who's going to get, like, 10 targets a game. You know, I feel like he's like that 3 to 4 target a game field stretcher type player. Like MVS, that's, one of my comps for him. Would you do Amon-Ra St. Brown for the 103? I think you might be able to get more than the 103 for St. Brown. Right now. People are high on him. Most people have him top 5 in Dynasty.
Yeah. I'll be okay with that. I mean, depending on what you need. If you need a core, yeah, I think if it's a super flex league, I'll take the 103.
That's pretty close, yeah. I probably prefer the pick, but it's close. Well, guys, that is the 2 rounds. The only name we didn't have was Dante Davis. Sorry. But I didn't expect him to be drafted, to be honest. Those are our first 2 rounds. This is the last content that we're doing as we're going on break now. So we're going to go on break. We're going to take a 2-week break and then come back in January and be full force. So subscribe, like the video if you want to help the channel grow while we're away. Every like helps. Every subscribe helps. We are currently at how many likes do we have on this stream? 117, which is incredible. Thank you so much, guys. If you have yet to drop a like, do us a massive favor and do so. Again, such a simple way for you to support the channel, to support what we do. But we will be on break for about 2 weeks. So keep that in mind. We're going to try and release and kind of hang out with family and not think about things too much. But then we'll be back in full force for the new year. Probably second week of January, I would say.
Yeah, I think we might. I'm going to go live for some playoff games.
Maybe.
Depending on the game and everything.
Yeah.
But
I just wouldn't promise anything. We'll see.
Yeah, on the other channel, but
yeah.
We'll see.
The last thing I'll say is, if you haven't done it yet and you want to learn a little bit more about this wide receiver class, I released a video last week, which was kind of the culmination of like a month's work, basically, where scouting, editing, researching, recording. It was I don't actually think I've ever put more effort into a video than that one. So if you want to learn a little bit about the wide receiver class, I have my top 10 video that is on the channel. I'll go ahead and paste it in the chat. I like to say it's probably worth a watch, but you guys let me know in the comments after you watch it if it was worth your time or not. But appreciate you guys. And the other last thing I'll say is, again, we are trying to grow our Twitter presence. So if you guys are big on Twitter, if you like tweeting stuff out or interacting, or we'll tweet out like things about the class, about future classes, buy lows in Dynasty. I am gonna try and put out some more film on my Twitter as well, because YouTube will demonetize it. But I talked a little bit about Jackson Smith and Jigba. I show you some examples of him being a contested catcher, as well as his yak game and stuff like that. So do us a favor and follow us on Twitter if you have yet to do so. And then Badake's is Badake with 2 underscores, which I will also paste in the chat as well. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, and Badake said, "Rest easy, King," to Elijah Mitchell. R.I.P.
No. GG's, man.
I know you loved Elijah. That was tough, man.
Miss you every day, brother. It's okay. And
but anyway, guys, huge love. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for taking the time out to watch the stream, to like it, and
appreciate you guys.
Yeah, what I can promise you is mid-January, whenever we come back, it will be mock draft season.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 mock drafts a week, just
it's
constantly
just constant
going
mock
crazy.
Drafts. That's right, baby. So.
And we are 6 subs away from 3,600. So if you could do us a favor and subscribe, that would be awesome. On our way to 4K. Appreciate you guys. Huge love. Enjoy your holidays. Hang out with family. Do your thing. Disconnect from the world.
Yeah.
And we'll see you soon, unless you have anything last thing to say.
Nah, huge love. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for holding it down the last 3 weeks. I think you guys don't know how much work that goes into it. That when I was away. So show love to Zach. We appreciate you guys, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and stay safe.
Yeah, for sure.
Love.
Last thing from Joseph, says, any possibility of a listener league? We do have listener leagues on our Patreon. It's a way for you to support our work, but also play in a league with us. I think we might open 1 league this offseason. We already have some people signed up. So
yeah,
I think we're probably going to open 1 league. We will have some orphans available as well. Join our Discord with the link in the description, and we will notify you guys. But those orphans go really fast. So if you want to be a part of them, make sure you read that information when we release it, probably in the new year. I would say when we come back, we'll fill those orphans. But we only want people who are committed, who are like in it for the long haul, who want to be active and contributing. Merry Christmas, y'all. Happy holidays.
Huge love.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your holidays, and we'll be back in January.